Overpass toilets is historically the place where CTs get the highest ratings of any map anywhere, you know. So like imagine Donk, what he used to do in Overpass, as you said, you know, in Katowice, there's that big phase map and all these things. Like he's gonna love it. There was like a Donk Shiro combination on A, and like what can you even do when you go up against that? So I think they're gonna be fine.
Sell in-game items at the best prices in just a couple of clicks. We are the biggest instant sell service for in-game items like Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, and Rust. Easy selling process and instant withdrawal of funds to the most popular payment methods. More than 140,000 deals and 50,000 active sellers every month. Use promo code HLTV5 and get a 5% bonus on the sale of your skins. Skin Place. Sell items now.
When every move counts, your chair shouldn't hold you back. Top esports players are switching to Anthros for unbeatable support and performance that keeps them in the game longer. Designed to support your unique shape and built with medical-grade components, Anthros is setting a new standard for comfort. Check out the Anthros difference today and get ready to fix your sit, because gaming deserves more than just a chair.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Counter-Strike fans across the globe, welcome back to another episode of HLTV Confirmed. This one rolled around damn quick. It's 11 a.m. on the 21st of July, 2025. Today is the travel day to IEM Cologne, kicking off for another edition. So we're back again thanks to our sponsors. Remember, Skin Place. You want to buy and sell skins. They do both now. I was checking out their Twitter page the other day. Head over to Skin Place, as well as Anthros. Fix your sit. We're on the chairs. You can't see them because they don't have the massive backs. So let me stand up, right? There's the chair. All right. That's our sponsors. If you want a chair, if you want some skins, you know where to go. Anthros or Skin Place, check them out. Thank you, everybody, for joining us bright and early in the morning here. Prof, you're glowing off of your holiday. We're all wearing a similar color as well. It's not the same color, but it's a similar color.
Yeah, shout out to TYLOO, the red.
Everyone woke up with it on their mind, didn't they?
Yeah. I mean, it was also Astralis in the grand final, so I guess we couldn't miss. We couldn't miss with these colors, but never saw this. Usually it's only black and white between us, but I guess some red, maroon, Bordeaux, whatever, is in season right now.
Yeah, it's a good color. Striker, you're also donning it now. Did you guys coordinate before coming in today? Just send it to their message, or
absolutely not. This is an amazing coincidence.
Okay, I just pulled a shirt out of the drawer. Now yours look much more iron than mine, which is probably on brand. So well done to the two of you, Prof. Where were you vacationing? Anywhere fun?
No, I was just in Croatia. Did some islands. Did some festivals and stuff like that. Nothing crazy. It was like 5 days, so not like I had a lot of time. And then I went to Belgrade to check out Fissure for a day, and say hi to the peeps, to the gang over there, and got back home like 11 last night. Slept, and here I am. I have no idea what happened in Counter-Strike, but I'll talk about it anyway, just as a professional.
Well, I think right there, something that you touched upon is something that is the feeling of this break, and something that we've discussed before. I think it was a couple of episodes ago, but it's how quick this one seems to have gone by. Major ended, then you went into like all the roster changes, even some of them starting to happen before the break officially kicked off. Then we're into the break, and an event's just gone on for the last week. So there was roster changes that were happening before that, because a lot of the teams that were going to Fissure had to have all their rosters in place, as well as the Cologne deadline, which is kicking off now. So the amount of time, right? I think if we look back, the grand final of the major was what? It was June the
2nd or something.
Yeah, June the 22nd. Then 23rd would have been the travel day home from everybody from the event in Austin. And right now it is the 21st. So it's literally just been a month now, right? So that's only teams who played in the playoffs as well. So that's 8 teams who essentially played up to the end of the season. And then you have the teams who didn't even make it to the major. You have the teams who eliminated in stages 3, 2, and 1 all before that. So for us, it feels quick. For some of these teams, it definitely doesn't. I wonder if that's Well, I guess even for teams probably who were eliminated in stages 2 and 3, they would have had ample time, I guess, but it just feels rapid. Is that just me? Does it feel quicker this year? I guess it technically is quicker because of Fisher, but
yeah,
the break doesn't feel as long this time around.
I mean, I think it definitely doesn't feel long. For me, it doesn't feel long, especially like, the major ended. We had some of the award stuff that we needed to do, and pretty much like Fisher was happening a few days after that. It didn't feel like there was any off time almost in that regard. But I'm curious how it is for the fans. I think usually the big roster changes like filled the gap, and that didn't really happen this time. So I feel like people are happy to have Counter-Strike go on as soon as possible.
Yeah. I think partly the feeling comes from the fact that in previous off seasons or previous kind of like beginnings of seasons, we would have that extra week, and then we would also start with like kind of a more soft entry, right? Which would be a Blast Bounty or whatever, so that like added another week of, let's say, online play, or kind of like groups, the former Blast groups that didn't really have that much of of impact, right, on anything. So we were always kind of heading into the season slowly, but now we're starting a week earlier with an actual LAN that, maybe it didn't have the best teams, but it was like a lot of solid ones anyway. And then we're heading straight into Cologne instead of like a soft entry, So it is like a good, even 2 weeks almost earlier that we would go into such a big tournament.
Yeah, that's a good point too, right? We're having those bounties or having those events that would start, and it's more group play, or when it was the partner leagues, it wasn't all the teams. Now it's just fucking all over the place. I think let's get straight into to Fisher. I think that's the place to start off this conversation. Now, there's a Skinionaire to kick things off. Is that where we want to begin? We may as well. Let's. Yeah. There's not many viewers here right now, so we have a smaller pool of people who can win. No one has even said anything in Kick just yet. So right now, guys, if you're in Twitch and you want a chance to win, I reckon, I am Igor. The first message, Skin Place in Kick chat. All right, guys, type Skin Place in chat right now. Your raffle ticket, your opportunity to enter the draw. We're going to have the potential to give away 2 skins valued at a grand total of $50 per skin if we get all 5 correct. Multiple choice, 5 questions. Are these done by Dimitri or are these done by you, Prof?
The standard.
The standard. All right. Big old Dimitri. We'll see how this one goes. All right, let's get stuck into things. Do you know the questions, either of you?
I do. I took a look.
Okay, so it's just you and me then, Striker. All right, you and me against the world. Let's see if we can do better than JL did last week. All right, let's kick things off. Skin Place. Who wants to be a Skinionaire? Type Skin Place in chat. Question number 1. Rare Adam put somebody on the bench and instead they picked up, well, this one's easy. It was a big headline. Trash. We can lock that one in. Bang. What's this got to do with Fisher? Oh, Rare Adam were at the event.
It's Chinese Counter-Strike.
I guess they were at the event, yeah.
They also were playing there.
Oh, the whole thing's about Chinese Counter-Strike?
Yeah.
Okay. So fine. We won't even... Okay. All right. Well, question number 2. What event did TYLOO made it to the final of? What event did made it to the final of?
I definitely fixed this, but maybe it didn't get fixed.
Okay.
I want to say... I know... I was just looking into it. I'm pretty I know Sydney was like top 4, and I'm trying to remember if Shanghai was top 2 or top 4. I know they went far in that Shanghai one.
Wasn't it against NRG in the final?
Yeah, might be. That was one of those tournaments, and I was so it must be one of them.
Oh, no, it wouldn't have been casting. It would have been analyst, but we're doing like 1 game a day.
Yeah, I don't think it was Leipzig at least, and I think Sydney was top 4, so I would say Shanghai.
Let's go with Shanghai. Locking in IEM Shanghai 2018. Correct answer is... Bang.
There we go.
I'm pretty sure it was against NRG when Cirque was on the roster and Breeze and those type of guys, right? So 2018 is... was it NRG then?
I think you're right. I think, yeah. That's the tournament they won, NRG.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, that's 2 from 2. Flying through these. Question number 3. Linvision and TYLOO share the best major placement ever for a Chinese team, and that is top 9 to 11th, top 12 to 14, or top 17 to 19.
Linvision were top...
Linvision made it to the same point as TYLOO, didn't they? Or did they go further? Well, either way, the question could be wrong, but the answer is what we're looking for.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember where Linvision made it, and they made it to the last round, no? Or am I crazy?
They made it to stage 3, yeah.
No, I mean, but the last round.
Oh, the 2-2 game?
Stage 3, yeah. Is that right, or am I crazy? I'm trying to remember how they went. Like, who did they lose to? Who eliminated Linvision?
Well, but this is the thing. Didn't TYLOO win a game in that stage previously?
But that would be 12 to 14, right? Not 9 to 11. So I'm just trying to figure out if Linvision went. That's the thing. I don't remember the TYLOO one. I don't remember. I'd like that. That's way too far. Is that like London or something?
No. Yeah.
Anyway, I would go 12 to 14.
Gonna lock in 12 to 14. Correct answer is 12
there we
to 14.
Go.
Yeah, it was only one
sure
game that they had won.
2-3. I couldn't remember.
Look, I'm going to go back and have a look as well because it felt like their run was wild, but that's because I think the scalp they took in stage 2
as well.
Yeah. So
because they also did stage 1, stage 2, then stage 3, right? So it's a longer run than TYLOO's at the major.
So they beat Liquid, they lost to Spirit, the Mongols in best of ones, and then they lost to Legacy 2-1. And that series was just blowouts for all 3 of those maps right there. So that was how LinVision concluded their Austin major run. All right, question number 4. We're going all right now, 3 from 3. According to the HLTV database, which of these Chinese teams' coaches had the longest playing career? Gum, Z8Z, or Zouking?
I mean, it's got to be Zouking, right?
I would immediately default to Zouking, but Z8Z. Because I don't think it's Gum, right? I don't think Gum ever played. Who the fuck is Z8Z anyway? Who's he coaching? Is he coaching Rare Atom? Right?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. Right. Gum, I don't remember as a player at all. Like, I don't know. He probably did play at some, but he wasn't in one of the.
I mean, Zouking
teams.
played forever, so I feel like it's got to be him. And I don't know Z8Z as like a player, so we just default to that. Unless, I mean, if it is a trick question for me, Dimitri, well played.
We just give it to him. All right, let's lock in Zouking. Correct answer is. It is the bus driver. We'll talk about him in a minute. All right, 4 from 4.
I made the same joke, man, like yesterday. It's so funny.
He loves it, doesn't he? All right, final question. Which of the following players has the most recorded maps on HLTV? Captain Mode, DD, or Summer?
AKA Fancy
Summer,
One.
No? I think it's got to be Summer. Because he was playing like way past even Captain Mo for a while, then Captain Mo came back, and I think DD also had like a good period where he didn't play.
DD did have a stint where he was away as well.
Yeah. So
I think more games are played in the modern era because of like.
I mean, Summer is still playing like actively, and I don't think he ever really stopped. So I think it's got to be him.
Okay. All right. Let's go with it. The logic checks out. Correct answer is Summer. It's 5 from 5. The confetti comes down. The dragon. Wait, it was the year of the dragon last year. What's the year in China this year?
Is it monkey or something?
Is it the year in China? Animal. Let's see what Google says. Actually, I'm using DuckDuckGo. Chinese zodiac for 20. It's the snake. That's my year, everybody. I am. That's not even funny. I am year of the snake. So congratulations to us, I suppose. All right, 5 from 5. That means we're giving away 2 $50 skins. Thanks to Skin Place, a lovely sponsor. We're going to be drawing the winners. Nightbot, congratulations to Sterza. That is Sterza. You won the giveaway on Twitch. And I think Lucas will probably be picking the winner over there on Kick, which is Nafum. Like Nissim and Naf, like kind of combined. You could get a lot of good aliases over there on Kick, couldn't you? Because I imagine there's not as many accounts going on. So people can get those early. All right.
Got a lot of filters as well.
There you go. All right, well, that's Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire, and that's actually a great place to kick things off. Those are our winners. Our people will reach out to your people, and we'll get this one underway. And we did just talk about the fact that we have giveaways on Twitch and Kick, and I think maybe it's important right now to talk about the event, because I was just touching upon this with you, Striker, before we went live. I said, how did you go about viewing the event? And that's maybe something that a lot of people in chat can also talk about. Did people have issues watching because it was exclusively on Kick as far as the English broadcast is concerned? Let's see what the people at home have to say. For me, I like to watch Counter-Strike on my television because at the computer I get a little bit distracted and I'll be doing other things. So I like to watch on my TV, and not being able to Chromecast it from any of my devices other than like a web window was a little bit annoying. I was just and this is first world problems as big as they come. And so I would do it from like a Chrome window and Chromecast it to my television and be able to watch it that way, but the audio would get desynced. So it was a little bit annoying there. But in terms of, the other stuff, I remember back in the day, everybody, back when we did Facebook exclusive streaming, when there was YouTube in the conversation. Right. And they were a long time ago. And the biggest concern from people back then used to be, but it doesn't have the Twitch chat community. We don't want to watch it because Twitch chat's not a part of it. That was the biggest moaning point of people in the past. Obviously, YouTube, it's still quite hard to find things. Kick, it felt pretty straightforward. You just go on Kick, you find it, it was there. But those are obviously two different products in that regard. The quality, occasionally it would blink on and off for me, but nothing too nuts.
For me, if it wasn't for like work part of it, where we have to get some clipping, like embedding clips actually enabled in HLTV, which it just isn't at the moment because we didn't really have that many tournaments like exclusive on Kick. It would be kind of the same experience for me as always, because I don't really use Twitch chat. I don't really care about that. Quality was fine and all that stuff. I didn't get random ads during matches and all these things. So as far as I was concerned, my viewing experience outside of the work part of it was pretty much the same.
Okay, well, there are some comments coming in. Some people saying that they had issues with the Kick app. Some people said they were able to Chromecast it from the Kick app. But yeah, either way, I think, if you're a hardcore Counter-Strike fan, this tournament was probably for you anyway, because it was missing some of or all of the big names, right? There's no Vitality there, no Spirit there, no Navi, no Mouse. So no G2, no Falcon. I could keep going, guys. But my point is the big names weren't there. Now, someone who was there was Prof. Now, Prof, it looked pretty good over there, didn't it? Like I was watching yesterday with the grand final, the turnout was pretty decent. Obviously, It's going to be in the same venue as the award show. So what did you make of it?
I mean, it looked pretty good. I think the first 2 days, audience-wise, wasn't that great, but it's also
understandable, though.
I think they also not only did they not get the big teams, but the teams that did come got eliminated. Like most of the big names, like Furia, Pain, VP, I would say, even though they haven't been like that great this year, they're still a big name. Even Heroic, I feel like these are the teams that you kind of maybe want to come to watch, and then you get like, I don't know, some of the teams that are lower going through, not that exciting. Obviously, Astralis and TYLOO came to the final, and they were the two teams that had the most pull, I think, from the playoffs. So it was in the final itself seemed pretty cool, and I mean the venue and the setup was really insane. So I think they built a tournament that is for more than what they got, both from the teams and the attendance. I feel like in terms of the prize pool, in terms of the stage and presence and everything. I know some delays in the group stage kind of weren't that great, but other than that, it would look like I don't want to see tier 1 Cologne level, but pretty much it's a good tournament.
Yeah, I think so. For those people who didn't pay attention to last week's episode, it was $1 million prize pool. They're doing the club share as well as the player share, I guess we can call it, as far as the prize money splits are concerned. 16 teams, a bit more of a classic format, you could say. It was a GSL, 4 groups of 4 teams. So the top 2 teams from each group progressing to an 8-team single elimination straight bracket with the best of 5 grand final. So all in all, the thing that was lacking was the name power. I think maybe some of the other issues is it's summertime right now, so you're going to get people to be going indoors for matches and be in there for 8-10 hours or whatever of games. So understandable that maybe you didn't have the best turnout for teams that weren't of that stature. But yeah, this implications of this tournament, if people haven't paid attention, the biggest one seemingly is the impact on the VRS rankings, right? You see how quickly we have the likes of Astralis and that of TYLOO just rocket up the rankings. And this is something that we've been talking about since the VRS came in. And this is something that I think is important to highlight again. Now, teams are going to learn their lessons the hard ways, guys. Like, this is the thing. We're still in the ironing out phase of what makes sense for these squads. They're tussling with the old days of, oh my God, we were partner teams. We're only going to attend the events that we consider like the elite tier or that treat us a certain way or that give us the incentives versus there's events with high caliber prize pool, which is going to contribute massively to the VRS as well as lots of LAN games. So those things are still going to be weighed up and ironed out. And we'll talk about it a bit more because Falcons are skipping a couple of Blast events, and that can actually play in on the inverse of this conversation a little bit later down the line. But these implications immediately, and I see that there's a couple of individuals who are popping up on Twitter as, let's call them like VRS connoisseurs in a way. They're really getting into the numbers and looking at like, okay, so we have these events, and I forget what that one bloke's name is, but I see him tweeting back and forth with Graham about a bunch of stuff.
Just per Jesper. Yeah, I talked to him a lot as well.
Yeah, he seems like he's got it going. It's Jesper Larsen 222. He's from Denmark. I just followed him back right now. So he's a gentleman who's definitely keeping his finger on the pulse as far as that's concerned. Is this shocking, Striker? That because people are seeing this in the VRS and they're going, oh, those teams aren't 6 and 7 in the world. Like, is this shocking for you to see the community just catching up to what I suppose was an expectation from our end?
Yeah, I think obviously you can't really make a case for Astralis being number 6 based on them beating like 4 more top 20 teams or whatever it is, at Fisher, when the last result before that they had was second place in Astana, which, they beat some good teams there, but it's not like it was also out of this world type of competition. I think the best team they beat was NAVI or Aurora, I think. So it was like 2 top 6, and this is like 2 months old now, right? So obviously it is more of a like the recency focus, right? Because we haven't really had any big tournaments happen in the past month, and like the major is kind of the only thing big that really counts fully pretty much in the ranking. So that's part of it, right? And this will correct itself because we have a lot of tournaments coming up, So I don't necessarily think it's such a big issue exactly because we have so much going on that it will just eventually, come down to a more reasonable ranking, I think.
Yeah, I think maybe the bigger angle on this, because where they are right now, strikers bang on. We still have a whole season ahead of us to see how this all shakes out. So it's going to come down to the cutoff for the major and where exactly will they be seated. But it seems that with this type of result, Astralis are meant to have locked themselves in for the major, which how many have they missed in a row? Is it 4? Is it 5?
4, I want to say.
It's too many, I think, is
No,
probably...
they missed 5 in a row, right? 4, they won 4, and now they missed 5 in a row, so they missed more than they won.
Okay, well, that's pretty rough around.
I think that's how I remember it, at least. But no, it's kind of silly. In one hand, I'm like, well, it can't be that they just played the first tournament of the season that they're already qualified for the major. Like in my mind, it feels wrong, but at the same time, the reason why it is like this, it is because of the other teams, and I think the system works as it should, incentivizing teams to go to different events that are putting on big prize pools and not have the VRS points locked away by the top 5 teams that are going to be deciding where they want to play and dictating how the scene needs to function, right? It is, you put on a good format, you have a lot of LAN games, you have a good playoff, you have a huge prize pool. Why wouldn't this impact the standing? I know this is also a reason why we also keep like the HLTV ranking, because it does work differently and it does appreciate different things. But I think in terms of getting the best teams to the major and making sure the circuit functions, I think the VRS, this is good. Like we'll also talk about maybe later some of the BYOC lands and stuff that's happening around the world. Like I think this is working as good as we could want it to work, right? We could maybe discuss, is it the player break? Should people be playing now? That's kind of a different discussion. But in terms of, hey, this is $1 million prize pool, people just didn't want to come and play. Well, fuck them, I guess. It's their problem. And also the teams that didn't come prepared, so they lost more than they would have wanted to, for sure. I think teams like Furio was 9th, right, going into this, and now they are 11th, okay, but
they're still number 1 in the Americas region right now, right?
Yeah.
Over Pain, Legacy, MIBR. Those are the top 4 at the moment. But yeah, I think that to the point of what you're saying here, it's very important. And we've been, again, another topic we've talked about a lot is that a choice, right? Teams choosing not to go for whatever reason, that's up to them. And I don't think people can judge and go, oh, maybe this team should have gone, or maybe they shouldn't have gone, or whatever. People can have their own opinions on that. I think the fact of the matter is that they didn't, right? And that's the bit that these are the ramifications. And this is how you want this to work. You want teams to exercise choice, right? You want them to vote with their attendance, with their feet, and this will change over time. This will change going into next year. Teams will be more tactical. You don't know exactly who's accepting invites or not when you accept an invite. So let's say that you were Liquid in this situation and you accepted it, and in this field, you probably make a top 8 run, right? Or you should. Obviously, they didn't do well in their online qualifier for EPL, but I think that kind of came out of nowhere, was a little bit of a surprise for the team. I think some dates got shifted around or something along those lines. So I think that was quite surprising for a few of them, as well as the whole regional change with Valve in the mix there. But I digress. So yeah, this is where we find ourselves right now. Let's dig into some of the particulars, and then we can get going, because there's a lot to talk about on today's show. So TYLOO winning, that's the headline, right? That was what we were talking about. Especially with the color of our shirts. And this is massive for this team. Now, let's get everybody up to speed. This isn't TYLOO just winning. This is TYLOO having to play the majority of the tournament with their coach, zweih, standing in. So he was formerly a professional player. He's moved into the coaching role, for those who are not familiar with him as a player. So it's not that he doesn't know his way around the server, but his duties have changed in the last couple of years as he's been coaching this TYLOO team. And for them to not have their AWPer as well, this is a statement piece on the board of G that they didn't have. It's not like you're replacing, zweih was a rifler with very very low sensitivity, and then you're playing without your AWPer, so you can't play the same structure CS. Now, the coach is going to know what's needed, and fortunately, not every map requires an AWP, and more importantly, Jam Young decides that he wants to just go absolute beast mode throughout the tournament, right? So that definitely gave them a buffer. So TYLOO are able to have this fantastic result right now, get a trophy under their belt, and now they've actually overtaken... Have they overtaken the Mongols?
Not
Asia,
yet,
I don't think so. No.
Oh, okay. I'm looking at the projection right now of the
that's for the major now.
Yeah. So obviously a lot of points are going to change between then and
3 months in advance.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's things will change by then, but
factoring in decay and all of that. Kind of stuff.
Astralis, according to that, would be number 2 by the time the major comes.
Yeah,
so that's not exactly something you want to look at right now.
Would be slightly crazy. So in the group stage, TYLOO were paired up with Astralis, MIBR, and Virtus Pro, which I think 3 of those 4 names you could make an argument to make the playoffs. I think we even did. And then when G was sidelined and not able to make it, I think I just wrote them off completely. I didn't think that TYLOO had any chance of making the playoff without having their AWPer in the server against the likes of VP and Astralis, but they beat both of those teams. They go into the playoff bracket. They go up against 3D Max. Zoking is still playing there. They win that one 2-0. And then G arrives for the SAW game and then the Astralis Grand Final. So crazy stuff. Jam Young gets the MVP. Kind of wild. I don't really know where to place this one, but I think in the past we've discussed on the show the prowess of the rifling trio in this team, at least once upon a time, right? Mercury has taken over the in-game leadership. They got Mosier and Jam Young. Like that was pretty exciting, especially when they added Starry. I guess Starry never worked out personality-wise with the team or something like that, but when they had Starry in the mix, like, holy shit, there's a lot of firepower on this squad. But Attacker's the more experienced member, G's the AWPer, and yeah, that's how she goes. So, gentlemen, any comments on TYLOO?
I mean, mainly it's just first, it's cool that finally some combination of these players worked out. Like they obviously, some of them played before in LinVision, right? And then all of these changes, and it never felt like they could have figured out anything to make a difference. And like, I mean, we are talking about, 2018 TYLOO as the last one that, and then 2018, of the benchmark, right? Face it, and then the Shanghai IEM, and since then it's not really been anything to talk about. And last year, obviously, Mongols and into this year have been doing like history for Asian Counter-Strike, but now this is another milestone. Maybe not for Asian Counter-Strike this time, for Chinese to win a tournament of this stature, like never happened before. MVP also going to a Chinese player, never had that before. So it's really cool to see. I think when the major was going on last year, a lot of the talks was like, okay, obviously there's a lot of fans, there's a lot of interest, there's teams, there's orgs. Like, why isn't there more success for Chinese Counter-Strike? And especially when you see Mongols doing kind of well from the same region, not really, since they can play a bit more European Counter-Strike with shit ping, at least in CSGO. But similar circumstance, even better, definitely for China. Definitely more players. The probably more CS players than Mongolians in total, right? So there should be more success, and I think we're finally seeing that come together. It just makes sense. It makes more sense that China will have better Counter-Strike than North America. Yeah. Just like from number perspective, and that hasn't been the case for as long as CSGO has been out, right?
It feels like the major performance unlocks some confidence, because one of the talking points we had on last week's show was LinVision and TYLOO being able to back up their results from the major, and TYLOO did so buckets and spades, and LinVision also had a decent showing. They make it to the playoffs and they lose to Astralis, okay? But it feels like they're playing with a newfound confidence, like, okay, we can beat these teams. Like, we're not second fiddle to them anymore, which I think is an unlocking point. And one of the things that was remarkable to me, Hadji made a tweet about this French player, but was just how calm Jam Young was all the time. Like, even when he did something mental, like he'd just sit there and maybe give like a slight head tilt, or like he'd do something with his mouth, but there was never any emotion. He would just be like pulling off these crazy shots or plays, and then he's just like, yeah, I'm pretty good. Right? There would be no emotion coming out of this guy, which I thought was mental to watch. But yeah, the confidence that comes with the run that they had before the end of the break, I think is fantastic. And obviously, these are teams who all feel like they have something to consistently prove, which is great as well. That's kind of fueling them forward. Striker, any words?
Yeah, like watching TYLOO, I think the biggest difference for me was Jam Young, because before, when you would watch TYLOO specifically, I think LinVision don't really have the same problem, at least not to the same degree, was they just get over exuberant in situations where they shouldn't. They have a 4v3 and they want to fight for it, and they give up that situation, right? And Jemian was kind of like, he's obviously kind of the most aggressive piece on that team. So he was always the guy who would want to make plays. But at this tournament, you could see that as much as he does want to make some of these, pushes through smoke or like aggressive pushes, to make a difference, he was way more measured than what I remember him to be, in previous tournaments when I was watching him. And like, it was obviously working well for him. So I don't know whether it was just kind of the crazy situation they found themselves in after the first couple of matches, where they play with their coach and they're through to the playoffs, or what it is exactly, that just like unlocks this kind of level of confidence. But yeah, that part is just still kind of unbelievable to me, especially considering who they played on the way. The only team that is not really proven, or like the new team, that came in was Saw. Yeah, that they beat in the semifinals. Everybody else is like legit teams that we've seen compete at tier 1 tournaments consistently. They know the meta. Maybe VP changed, they brought in Perfecto, but it's not like they don't know how to play proper CS, and they still lose to coach. It's unreal to me that Astralis lost to them both times, with the coach and without a coach, and it didn't even matter. That's like almost unacceptable, because like how do you even allow that to happen if you're a team that wants to compete at this level? That's the craziest part for me. But considering to how many teams they did that, it's like obviously you can't really even feel bad about that if you're Astralis. It's like, yeah, the same thing just happened to 3D Max and VP, and nobody knows what happened.
I think there's a few factors, and this is going to apply to literally every team who would be playing at the Fisher event. It's the first event out of the break, right? You can do different goalposts for everybody because everybody has a different story, but it's the same for everybody. It's the first like LAN event back from the break. Even though it felt shorter, it was shorter. There's a lot of factors that go into that as well. But this was the first event for everybody. So it was about making essentially a good impression. And last week's conversation can now be followed up with this week's conversation because it was about setting the right level of expectation going into a new season. So TYLOO have smashed that out of the ballpark. If they're able to continue to run with this, in my mind, they don't immediately become like a playoff contender because some of these events only have 16 playoffs. If we're talking a normal event, it's an 18 playoff. They're in that conversation in a Swiss, like a 2-2 game, right? To potentially be making it through. They've joined that group of teams now with a result like this. Now, obviously, they need to back it up. You can't just sit here and go, oh, but you do want to look at the way that they played, how on form the individuals looked, and you want to look at that as a positive thing. And then it becomes a little bit of condemnation for a lot of the other names. There's very few teams that can take away highlights from this event. Like Astralis can, right? Okay, we made it to the grand final.
I'm not even sure you can say that, to be honest. I mean,
they should have won. They were the favorites, but
that's
come
the
on.
point. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, you look at the competition, and it's obvious they should be disappointed at the fact that they didn't win this tournament, especially with how the other good teams, that we expected to fight for the title, like Furia didn't even make it to the playoffs. But
it's only their second event, Striker.
I know.
And the last event they played finished on the 18th of May.
I'm not saying it's not a good result for them. Obviously, it helps them in all kinds of ways, and it's great that they make it to the final, but it's more about the competition that you look at, right? And you look at, basically, they didn't beat the top 20 team in that run, And then that puts it more into context of, like, do we actually expect them to be that much like better than when they were like 2 months ago, or have they even improved considering they lost to TYLOO twice, in this fashion? It's not exactly, it doesn't really reflect anything for me for Astralis. If anything, again, like I feel it's more of a disappointment to them, exactly because everybody else that we thought was going to fight for the trophy didn't even make it that far.
I see what you're saying, but wasn't it they only lost like the only maps they lost the entire tournament was to TYLOO?
Yeah.
They beat MIBR twice. Okay, MIBR had Nyx, a new player. They beat Linvision 2-0. They beat BetBoom 2-0. Like I guess I get what you're saying, but at the same time, it's more like
just moving forward, right? Like I'm not saying this is not a good result. I'm sure they're still disappointed regardless of who they lose to in the final, especially with how close it is. But it's more like moving forward. Does this result make me feel like Astralis are somehow an obvious top 10 team and they're going to be in the fight for playoffs all the time? Not really, because they didn't beat any of those teams to get there, right? So if they had won, and if they had won convincingly, then I'm like, okay, they are clearly above all these teams, right? But they didn't. So it's now it's more of a question mark whether they actually do belong in the conversation of being able to beat the Auroras or Navi's Spirits, that they played in Astana.
I have a question, Chad.
Yes.
You're a Counter-Strike expert, right?
Sometimes.
Yeah. How does HooXi top frag a best of 5?
I don't know. Doesn't this feel like a little bit of a consistent factor with Astralis where their strong riflers are never on form at the same time. I guess anyway, the point that you're making is that shouldn't even be the conversation, right? Let's say they just lost and Stan wasn't playing well, but Yabi was, or Stair wasn't playing well.
Had a stinker or whatever. But
but you're saying HooXi was the highest rated player. That's what. That right there, I guess. See, this is what it's clear with HooXi since his rebirth, I guess we'll call it post G2, is he's putting a lot more, or at least it feels like to me, he's put a lot more emphasis on his contributions on the board. So you'd see him get a double kill or so. And there's certain rounds where
do you see a change in the playstyle in that sense, or are you just saying it based on the output he has?
I think since we've seen him, he's only played 2 tournaments now, but he's had more output in both of those tournaments than it felt like towards the tail end of his G2 stint, right?
100%, yeah.
So he's definitely in the eye test put more time into his individual status, which is paying dividends. But why is that not being... the conversation, I guess, should be why are his stars or his players that are meant to be the stars not delivering in the way that they should, right? Because even if HooXi is playing well, he's never meant to be at the top of the scoreboard, right? He can put as much time as he wants into deathmatch. He's not like an in-game leader, like a Blame F or someone who's baiting for these kills either. Like he's someone who's getting stuck in. So he should never really be at the top of the scoreboard in that regard. It's not a bad thing. I'm sure HooXi feels really good about the top fragging. But if they want to win, then it has to be the other 3 names or the other 4 names if we're including Device, obviously, as that AWPing piece. But
I do think it helps him that he's not quite so forced into all the entering. Like obviously on G2, he probably felt pretty under pressure, to always run in first, to always jump around corners, all these things. I don't think that happens as much in Astralis. I think there's he obviously has aggressive pieces that doesn't have to be so worried about doing that for him. Like you see Stair doing that a lot, for example. Stalin's obviously pretty aggressive, so it's going to happen from more sides, and he doesn't feel like he has the superstar that he constantly has to make pressure for, right? Like it's more of a team game for that Astralis is playing, so I think that contributes to it, but still it shouldn't be happening that he's the top of the scoreboard.
Well, you're not going to win. You're not going to win if HooXi's at the top of the... Well, actually, maybe you're owning him and HooXi's at the top of the scoreboard. It's not also very likely you're going to win if HooXi's at the top of the scoreboard.
I think it does need to be said. It's like 109 rating, which is also above expectations for HooXi himself, or pretty much any in-game leader that... I was going to say, pretty much for any in-game leader that is, more Apex supportive, or some of these guys that we obviously don't really expect to start for their team, So like that already, it was kind of above expectations, but the fact that nobody else really showed up, that's more of the factor.
All right, well, let's do this. Let's talk about some of the massive disappointments. I think right now, we can talk about it from a stock rating perspective, and I don't know anything about stock, so this is perfect. More of me talking about things I don't quite fully understand. I think it's a terrible debut for VP. It just is more and more miserable. Wildcard having Sonic take over the in-game leadership and bringing in...
I forgot about this whole story. I was kind of following this while on vacation, just seeing a tweet here and there, and I'm like, wow, this is really bad.
That is a fucked up situation, man. And if you saw the I think it was Jaba's tweet, right? Right after coming back home, there's all kinds of fucked up things going on over there, man. I don't even know.
I read that tweet and I didn't want... my initial thought was, is there more to this?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
100%.
But I thought, is it something personal? Is it something in his real life that's happening as to why he's making that? But I just went to his page right now. The tweet's
gone.
Did
he delete it? Of course he did.
So
I think somebody at Wildcard wasn't happy about that one.
Yeah, the sentiment of the tweet was something like, I can't wait to get home.
Yeah,
right?
I've never looked forward to coming back home more than now, or something like that. He said, which is... Yeah, I mean, if you look, it's all obviously reading between the lines, but just go read the Sonic interview we did and just make your own picture, because it is pretty damning to what was going on. And I'll just brief TLDR of what he said was effectively he went into the break thinking he was going to be removed, and he made plans to join another team. And then suddenly Wildcard asked him to step in and take the in-game leadership when it's not even him who's supposed to keep it. He's going out of the team in the next, whatever it is, couple of months, when they actually find a replacement or whatever it is. They had to keep him because they had to keep a core. So something must have happened with Stan. We didn't expect Stan to suddenly just be kicked from his team.
Does this help us though with the timeline? Because we saw Stan's tweet come out, or at least it was from his representative. So
I think at that point it was already probably... I guess I don't know this from the behind the scenes talks or whatever, but when he made that tweet, I would imagine he did know he was going out already at that point.
Do you think that this is why I would think the other way?
Okay.
Because
you think that caused it?
Yeah, well, like, let's think about this logic, right? If they were going to replace Sonic or whatever, like they had plans to make some changes elsewhere within the team, and they were going to keep Stan, then Wildcard sees Stan make, or his management or whatever, make that tweet saying that he's looking at other options to see what his offers are. Then they go, well, fuck this guy. We'll just keep some of these other guys and we'll try and make it work.
But
right?
is that, I mean, look, I understand if you're not really convinced about like your in-game leader and all that stuff, but there's still probably a better solution if you keep your actual in-game leader and then allow for the transition over the next couple of months rather than switching game leadership so that that guy can hand over the in-game leadership to the new guy. You know, it's just like it feels, I don't know. I honestly don't know what happened. Like, I don't know exactly what happened, but it's very clear that over the break, something plan that was in place, something happened that like just broke the original plan. And like now suddenly Sonic is in this, like, I don't want to say that he's in this limbo because he said he agreed with the team, you know, to do this. So it's not like he got forced. He could have probably said no, you know, or just like stayed on the bench, and they would have had to do something else. But he's obviously in this limbo period where like he's waiting for friends to be able to take over in-game leadership and for Wildcard to get some points back up so that it doesn't matter so much anymore that they lose the core, you know? So like it's this fucked up situation where you're playing with a team that there's no faith in. Like, you know that there's no faith in, probably from within, and you can see that from Sonic, from the J-Bot tweet and all these things, you know, that like atmosphere is probably pretty shit because everybody knows this is not the team that's supposed to continue together, you know? So how are you even supposed to gain any points back up if you have no faith in that team? Like, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's a crazy situation. I got a lot of shit. I don't know if you guys saw for calling Stan's tweets cringe, or not tweet cringe, but like his representation coming out with that. And it was kind of a joke. It wasn't like literally cringe, but I just thought it was a weird way to go around it. And I don't know. Like, should I speculate further? But I feel like it makes more sense what Chad is saying. Okay. That's the timeline because of the Sonic thing going out. Like he said, he was essentially benched, but then he was back in. Like, so obviously the plans were different and they changed at some point, and the result makes absolutely no sense for anyone involved. Like it just had a pretty good team, competitive team. You bench your fucking Opper and your IGL. Like, wow, these are the worst people to replace. These are the hardest roles to replace. And let's just like figure it out on the fly.
And we knew like before, like with the rumors, there was supposed to be Sonic out, and he was even talking about how he was unhappy with like there being rumors about him being replaced, never being told about it, you know, and all these things before the break. So there was already animosity, you know, towards the organization, some friction from Sonic because of the situation that he was in, like heading into the major, you know. So like to just see it go on this way, and it's like he's the one that stays instead of Stan, you know, it just doesn't compute to me, and I can't really see how anybody allowed this to happen, you know?
Yeah. Obviously a lot of things that we don't know. One thing we do know, poorly managed.
And poor result for them, right? They go out 2-0, and if you were hoping to pick up some early momentum, now it feels like you're going to go back to the drawing board. Now, I have some issues with this because a lot of the teams here are teams that we're going to be talking about who are also going to be playing in Cologne. So maybe we just focus on the teams that aren't going to be in Cologne and talk through the other names. That might be the best way to deal with this overall. So BetBoom made it to the semifinals. They were using Anthros. Now, we don't know what's going to happen with Anthros and BetBoom in the future, but that's a pretty good result for them overall, I suppose, right? Like it's just hard to measure because, again, everybody has the same parameters. First event, not the biggest names in attendance. So you don't know how to measure things. I would really recommend that people are tempered with their expectation. It's good to look for like positive signs and try and think what can be, but at the same time, make sure that you measure those. Don't just go, oh my God, TYLOO are now one of the best Counter-Strike teams in the world. Like that would be crazy, right? Don't go, oh my God, Jam Young is one of the absolute best rifles in the world. It's like he played very, very well. And then if he does that against the better teams in future events, great. Like I'm all on board. He played fantastically. There's definitely no detracting from that, but the field is important as well as the context of where this came in. So are there any other highlight names that are not in Cologne that you guys wanted to talk about here? I guess Saw would be one of them. Saw aren't in Cologne, are they?
No, I don't think so. I think Saw, there's this thing going on with Saw where every time we think that they're done, somehow they pull out something out of the bag. Where like the last time they did this with the change to Teyot and I forgot who they had before that. Azul. There you go. That's the one.
I mean,
we were
even
like,
the run before.
What is that even? Then we were like, what is the how does that make any sense? And then they pull out the where was this? I'm
Pro League?
I'm blanking.
Pro League,
Yeah,
I think they had a good result.
Yeah, but
yeah,
before that was Cluj, right? I think where they did make playoffs with the dead lineup in a stand-in or whatever.
Yeah, so. where Roman was going out and they make top 8 in Cluj, right? Or something like that. And then they make this change. They do well at Pro League. When we think like they're done, now they bring back the Portuguese lineup with 2 guys we've never really heard of in a context of, tier 1, like stepping up to tier 1 or anything like that. And they make it top 4, and it's like pretty decent, like around the level, like way above the level that we would expect them to play at, like a lot of the top 20-ish teams, So it's something about them, just can't really count them out.
I think that they do the reverse spirit bomb. So while Goku's standing there taking all of your positive energy, right, and collecting it ready to decimate their opponent, Sora doing the opposite. They're like, nobody believes in us now. The world is against us, right? And they're powering up with that energy. So if we never talk about Sora, maybe they'll keep winning. You never know, guys. We just have to forget about them. Okay, I don't have too much more to say about Fischer, really. I'd like to jump around and get into some more of the news if you guys are interested.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Let's keep flicking around here, shall we? Okay, so let's jump into some recent news. There was a lot of conversation about this online, and I think that people need to, again, refer to some of our VRS or TOR experts around the world to see as why this happened. Now, Falcons, when the bounty invites came out, they had chosen not to attend. And then when the Blast Open invites came out, they'd also chosen not to attend. Now, for those people who are not paying attention, this might just seem like, oh, well, why aren't they going? Well, Blast have put bounty online, which we already knew, for the first portion until the last 8 teams, and then they go to studio event for LAN, and they've done the same for Open, and Open will be even less teams at LAN. It'll be 6 teams at LAN because the playoff is only one of those 6-team events. So the online portions of these events offer very little in terms of progression to be made with VRS. So you can look at it as a high-risk, low-reward type scenario, because the risk of playing online Counter-Strike and getting upset by a lesser team is higher, especially for the top teams who are used to playing on LAN. And then the low reward being, well, if you don't actually qualify for the LAN portion, then you're not going to be in the running to get a sizable amount of VRS points that are going to matter for you. So you're spending a potentially 2-week period at an event with an online portion, then traveling, then playing a LAN that could be over in a couple of days for you for very little. So right now, if you're a team like Falcons who don't need the incentive system, right? Normally when we talk about Falcons, I shy away from the money conversation because I just want to talk about the Counter-Strike. But the money has to be a big decision in why that they are choosing not to attend these events, whereas maybe some of the other top organizations in Counter-Strike would because of the tokens, right? Falcons, like, they look at the money that are on offer probably from the rev share of ESL and the fucking frequent flyer points at Blast, and they go, what the fuck are we going to do with that? That won't even pay Nico's salary for 3 months or whatever, right? Like, they're probably having an absolute giggle at that little amount of money and what it would actually mean in the context of things. They want to win. They want to win majors. That's what they want to do, right? They want to win Colognes. They want to win the Katowices. Yeah. They want to win majors. And for them to skip these events, it's understandable. I think it's just shocking because they're the only big name that are doing it at the moment. So, Striker, over to you for more on the particulars of maybe why. What, did I hit the nail on the head, do you think?
Yeah, I think 100%.
If I nailed it, I'm happy with it.
I think absolutely. Like, in terms
nailed it, guys.
I think in terms of, like, you see all these top teams, like, they will say yes, I think virtually only because of the frequent flyer. I don't think there's any other reason for a Vitality to play an online bounty first or whatever it is, especially when it's not even the soft entry, like, you can make a case that if it's the first tournament of the season, all these teams are going to want to play just to get the rustiness off, after a month-long break and all that stuff. And that, like, they're probably not going to look at, like, we have to win this tournament, it's the first tournament of the end of the season, but London is a bit of a different case, of course, but now that it's online as well, like, that obviously changes things a lot in terms of incentives, like, effectively, I was just talking to Jesper, actually, and some of these other people. Virtually the only way that you get any benefit from playing in these tournaments is if you at least win one of the first LAN game, which is the quarterfinals in either Bounty or London. You have to make top 4 to get anything out of this.
Okay,
so you play
it is high risk.
So whatever you play, let's say 3 matches. What is it? 1, 2, 3 matches in Bounty before you, or 2 matches online, and then 1 more on LAN before you get anything. And in Blast, it depends on how you go through the groups, right? But you at least probably 3 to 4 matches before you even can get anything as well. basically, before you get any benefit, because the online part is virtually worth nothing because there's no prize money in it. It is online, so the LAN, factor doesn't come into play. The prize money factor effectively doesn't come into play. It's absolute minimum weight that it can possibly be. So all of these matches are virtually meaningless to all the top teams. They are meaningful to all the top 20s-ish or whatever, exactly, if they make it far enough, to get their hands on some of the better money, if they can make it even to the first LAN match, But for the top teams who already have all the prize money, they're already maxed out and all that stuff. It's basic. There's no benefit.
Yeah.
There's no benefit.
Yeah, I think that this is likely something we'll see more in the future, Prof, right? Especially with EPL moving online for the group stage portion next year. If Blast stay the course as they are right now, I feel that we'll have more teams selecting to go to a Fisher than they would go to one of these events, at least next year when things slowly start to get worked out a little bit better. Do you think this is a sign of things to come?
I mean, a part of the Falcons thing was also they spoke about Kyosuke and his visa situation because he's like 17, and the whole thing about getting Schengen visas as the first timer is difficult. So he'll probably get like a 30-day, and then he'll have to reapply for every event. So he can't really, just say yes to everything because it's kind of complicated going back and forth, and they have EWC that they're going to and all of these things. So their approach is, okay, we'll be a bit more selective, and then skipping bounty. After skipping bounty, there's also the whole thing about like which events you can and you can't skip to stay inside. And I've heard there's some like maybe either misunderstandings or changes from Blast sides, like, oh, you can't skip this one, you need to attend this amount before you can skip something. I don't know. So there's a bit of friction, what I heard, between some of the orgs and Blast there. But at the same time, also heard that some orgs wanted this to be online. It's like it's quite complicated, and it's very important.
Right. Some orgs wanted it to be online.
This is what I heard. So
I mean, I'd be surprised if Blast did it without consulting the teams, at least to a large degree, right?
I think consulting the teams, consulting the players are two very different things. And how orgs deal with players wanting to play less tournaments, for example, they don't want to travel that much. They're like, okay, you don't need to travel as much. We'll have some online stuff instead. So they go to Blast and be like, okay, can we make some stuff online instead of LAN? So we get less travel days for the players. But then this would only be the orgs that are saying yes to everything, which are like the big orgs that I would expect Falcons to be in that conversation of big orgs today. But how things have been the last few years, they aren't an org that is in the Louvre agreement and those group of orgs that are going around and being like, okay, we need to do this and that. The orgs that went to PGL and asked for the club share. That sounds very ominous, that name. So
it's cooler when you call them the Cabal, though, isn't it? It adds to conspiracy theories. I like it.
So I think that's where the pull. There's a people are trying to figure out shit and make everyone happy, and then I feel like the solution that was found is not making anyone happy. Unfortunately, it's making and I think the biggest loser of everything will be Blast, and in my opinion was. Just as a viewer, I think it's shit that they got their one event that they had that was really good, which was the Open.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what
they cut off their nose to spite their face.
I mean, if you think about it, I think now they have, considering everything altogether, I want to say, I didn't actually look into this. I want to say they have more online games. They have LAN, even if you include Rivals.
Probably, because
season.
32 team for Bounty, to start with. So you have 2 rounds of that. So
they must have because effectively, so in Bounty you only have 4 to so it's 7 games, right? LAN games. In Open it's 5. Wait, it's Open it's 5 because they have the quarterfinals only by 2 teams, right? So you have 2 extra in Bounty where it's 4, where it's all 8 teams in the quarterfinals, right? Whatever.
I wanted to just get in quickly because someone in chat just mentioned that they changed it for 2026. So I just quickly did some Googling while we were discussing. So for Bounty, it's still going to stay online for the first 2 rounds. But for Open, they're moving it to LAN for next year. So it's studio environment for the opening stage, which, they're still going to have Bounty online, but it's good for Open that they're going to be. So we're only going to feel the ramifications of that for this season. Yeah, so that means there's only one season of Open where they had it online.
What is they even... Why would they do that? It doesn't even make any sense.
That's the thing I'm also failing to understand. I think it's partly because the the way I think the teams look at it, I think Prof explained it pretty well. The big teams, they don't really give a fuck about this tournament other than, being able
tokens?
to say they've notched it for the tokens, and then like if they do make it to the LAN part, you get the top 4 or whatever it is. I don't remember exactly the structure, but if you make it fair enough, you get an extra token, but at least you make sure that you do get the frequent flyer at the end of the year, so it's like an extra piece of money. But like effectively in terms of the VRS or what the tournament means, unless you win it, probably isn't worth that much, exactly because you play like 3 matches at maximum at the tournament if you don't go straight into semis. So for them it's probably kind of like, let's just get the notch in and just like we don't have to actually spend that much time on it, because it's, even if you look at the prize pool in the end, bounty is 500,000, but the open is only 330 because the structure that Blast went into this year with was a lot of the guaranteed fees instead of the club share, that ESL has or now PGL has. So their events are even like a third of the prize pool of a Fisher, or even less than that of an ESL tournament. So in terms of VRS impact, even if you make it to the LAN, it's just not as much. It's just nowhere near as much as the others because it's not even full weight.
But they are changing that next year as well, aren't they?
Yes, they are going in the direction of the club share part, so that they can get the full impact.
We knew that they had to go in that direction.
100%.
And this is the thing. A lot of these things, again, guys, like we can't just pivot. These orgs, these TOs can't just pivot on a dime. Some of them are getting different information from Valve about what they can and what they can't do. This is all an ironing out process. And when TOs do something different, like Fisher just doing GSL as a format, or PGL doing third place deciders, this is all data for all the other TOs to look at, for Valve to look at, to be able to bring back and go, okay, these are the better decisions going forward. And then hopefully the circuit gets itself in a strong spot where everybody's quite content with the choices that are being made. You see stuff come out for CAC and then they have to retract it and put out a new thing because they did wildcards instead of this or instead of that. So this is going to be happening, and there's so much of it happening, and it's happening at a point where you're hearing about things a year in advance for certain stuff that in the moment, I was just mentioning this to Striker the other day, in the moment when it comes out, it might not seem like a big deal. But when you get closer to that event point in a year's time, it just becomes a big deal. So it's like nobody wants to hear about it when the news is released. When it gets too close to the event, it's too late to talk about it. So we're just going to continue to go through these kind of teething issues. But that's the choices that Falcons have made, and understandably so. And I think this will impact team selections to go to bounty in the future, as well as EPL. Right? That if EPL stays online, that's the biggest issue that they're going to have. They're going to fall into a similar boat. Is there a way to incentivize the online play?
Not particularly.
Deafening silence right there, wasn't it, guys? That wasn't even an edited in pause. When you watch the VOD, guys, that was a real pause. That was a genuine pause. Felt like a lifetime. Felt like I was just staring down the barrel of the Grand Canyon.
I was genuinely trying to think it through. It's just I couldn't come up with anything.
Couldn't quite believe it. Okay. So
I mean, like this, the worst part is that the, like, especially for bounty and for open, there's literally zero. I think they're changing it now a little bit for the second bounty or something. But you effectively get nothing if you win as a favorite, And so like if favorites keep winning, there's effectively no prize money to gain from the tournament, and so like the weight is even worse. So if you put some actual prize money in the online part of it, then maybe there's some incentive, at least to the teams that don't have like max prize money. But for the top teams, there's virtually no way you can incentivize them to want to like actively want to play it, rather than just play it because they kind of will hope that they're not going to get upset in the online part and get to LAN.
Okay, so the only way is to put a bit more prize money there, and that isn't even for the best team. So there you go. Okay, well, we should. Someone in chat was bang on. They said you should incentivize zero. You should incentivize online play. T1 should be played on. Does he mean you shouldn't incentivize?
He corrected himself in the next.
Okay,
he said you shouldn't incentivize online.
That's
play.
what I thought he meant. And I agree. So there you go. All right, let's keep moving. You know what? We're in a good spot right now. Lucas, hit an ad break, my friend.
Sell in-game items at the best prices in just a couple of clicks. We are the biggest instant sell service for in-game items like Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, and Rust. Easy selling process and instant withdrawal of funds to the most popular payment methods. More than 140,000 deals and 50,000 active sellers every month. Use promo code HLTV5 and get a 5% bonus on the sale of your skins. Skin Place. Sell items now.
When every move counts, your chair shouldn't hold you back. Top esports players are switching to Anthros for unbeatable support and performance that keeps them in the game longer. Designed to support your unique shape and built with medical-grade components, Anthros is setting a new standard for comfort. Check out the Anthros difference today and get ready to fix your sit, because gaming deserves more than just a chair.
All right, I'm back. Lucas, you might have to talk to me here because nobody else is here. Prof's rebooting.
Of course.
Don't know where Striker went, but it's just me. It's just me and Lucas, and we're just hanging out on this Monday in the middle of the day. Someone said make sure to drink water. That's a good idea. What else is going on in here? Tax fraud expert, okay, but it doesn't change the fact that in Australia there are 48 million kangaroos, and in Uruguay there are 3,457,480 inhabitants. So if kangaroos decided to invade Uruguay, each Uruguayan would have to fight 14 kangaroos. Wow. Okay. Welcome back, Striker.
Thank you.
We're just talking about kangaroos and stuff. Let's keep the conversation flowing. We can bring Prof in when he gets back. He's just doing a reboot, having some PC issues. So this is one that he's whacked in the list for us to talk about today. So over in Fragadelphia, M80 lost at a best-of-5 final to a Polish team with Bobby Flay. So that's pretty good news.
Innocent.
Innocent in 2025. Right?
Crazy,
but
right?
the team is called Kolesia. What does the word mean?
I would hazard a guess that it's something to do with wheels.
Okay. Why would you hazard a guess it's something to do with wheels?
Because Koleso would be a wheel in Slovakian. Kolo would be but I could be entirely wrong because I don't know why I would call it that. There's a beer there in there.
I saw that in the logo at the top, so I don't know what the beer means.
Let's whip out the translator.
Someone says they're saying in chat it means buddies. It means dudes.
Dudes. Okay,
dudes. Okay. But there you go. Well, we know what the team name means. But this is also juxtaposed with the win from Smuja playing for what is it? Iberian
Soul.
Yeah, or Iberian ham. Depends on which one you guys want to eat. But both of those were lands that were going on over the course of the weekend. One was at Epic, which was in the UK. Smu was standing in for the Spanish, which is something he's done before. And obviously this win against M80 for the Poles over there in the US at Fragadelphia. Now, this is kind of important because of the VRS implications of smaller events like this for teams of this type of caliber. So I think the reason Prof probably included this, I think he's back. He's back. Yeah. Look at this. You can bring him in. Lucas. Bring the bloody frame in, mate. Is to do with the implications that smaller events can have on the VRS. So I haven't actually looked at how much they jumped up the rankings. Was it big?
They're like 40 something now, I think. After that, they are 42. So that's pretty huge for a team that was like 90, I think, before this. So yeah, that is a big jump. I mean, effectively everybody improved, right? But that was the biggest one.
And Iberian Soul 34. Yeah,
the Polish team, yeah.
Yeah. So it means dudes, we learned, by the way, Prof. Okay. Yeah. So we learned a few things.
This is an org because their logo
they have a beer in the logo and all that. And
looks completely ChatGPT generated.
But I think the fact that they went to an event in the US, right? This isn't an easy feat, right? They went to an event, right?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And I mean, even
kind of a big deal.
If you look at even Epic Land that has like 5K prize pool, it's still impacted positively. So like the Iberian Soul, for example, they went up a few spots, and some of the other teams that were like lower outside of like the top 50, for them it means a lot more. So it's cool to see like a event that is pretty small realistically in terms of prize pool still has importance, and it just brings us back like 10 years in terms of smaller events, just people going all around the world to compete in Counter-Strike. And in that way, as a smaller someone on the up and up can actually get experience playing against a top 50 team in the world, and maybe chat with them, get some feedback, be like, okay, what do we do wrong because you stomped us 13-1, and you get like some valuable insight into Counter-Strike that you take and like develop further on. I think it's pretty cool, and obviously Fragadelphia has been doing it for a while now, and some other tournaments around the world, but it's just nicely consistently going on and providing this like launch pad for teams that are not on the top, right? I think Jax and Co were also playing at Epic Land.
Under Masuta, Deva Duvek, Yeah.
It's kind of funny. I mean, you're spot on there. It's like the British teams and all, like the Irish teams and stuff, they pretty much got destroyed anytime they played against the other one of these better ones. But I mean, that's how you improve as a region, right? Like you have to play against the better teams to improve. So I think this is great. I mean, this is great for everybody there to
did
actually
anyone,
get to play against these legit teams.
Did anyone see the clip that came out? I think this morning. Bird from Sky at karaoke.
No, I
didn't see that.
Didn't see it.
It's out there on Twitter. People can find it. I don't know who posted it.
What song's he singing?
Oh, I don't know this. It's like one of these like newer pop songs. I don't know from the top of my head.
Some Blackpink or something going on in there.
No, not that.
No,
not that
K-pop.
crazy.
Okay. Well, I think overall, right, the general sentiment for all of this is that these smaller lands can have impact on the VRS and then help you get invited to bigger tournaments. The biggest issue is, I guess, the availability of those lands and then the standard that people are going to set going to those events. So maybe a few of these teams who are on the cusp need to lower their standards a little bit. We've all been there before, and take what's out there, which does wonders for the smaller event. Don't go expecting you're going to have player managers and people running after you and all this type of stuff going on. This is going to be a little bit more of the grassroots environment because it'll have big impacts on the way that the circuit can be moving going forward. So that's important just to highlight that. And hopefully we see more and more of that growing. Okay, let's keep going. Let's keep jumping along. Next topic. I thought this one was wild. BOROS buys himself out of his own contract with GG How, which... Look, I don't know how much he could have possibly, been worth. Like GG How, it always surprises me because when I hear GG How, I imagine it's a Chinese org, but they're always Middle Eastern. So
it is.
It is a Chinese org with a Middle Eastern team.
Yeah, because they used to have two different teams. They had like a Chinese team and an international team. I think this used to even be called GG How International, and then they had the Chinese one on the side. I think they don't have a Chinese one anymore, but yeah.
It is weird that he bought himself out of that. I felt like within the region, you were starting to see like a couple of more, because for the longest time, what they do is they would have like a couple of European imports and they would have a couple of Middle Eastern players. But then it had moved into a position where I think they had it covered across the board with Middle Eastern players. And it's like, yeah, these guys can shoot. Like there's some good players in this mix. Obviously, ping disadvantage is one that sucks. But you wonder, like, did BOROS have anything lined up or did he really just not want to be in that team? Because to buy yourself out, he's just joined free agency. So we also know he's passed with Falcons and not necessarily having the best reputation. So I don't know. This just feels like I really don't want to be here. Nothing is better than something. Yeah. That's what it feels like. Because I don't know what type of, like, the season's already going to be starting. So where can he even find himself? None of the established names are going to be picking him up. He's going to have to go to a lesser team and try and work in for the major, right? Like that. It's not often that players publicly come out and say that they paid for their own buyer. I know that there's a couple throughout history that have definitely contributed to some or a lot more when moving teams. So yeah, not a lot to say about this one, really, gentlemen.
Not really. No,
it's just like such a weird situation to happen, really. It's just like, especially if you don't even have a team lined up, like why would you pay for yourself if you have like let's say you have a bench salary or whatever it is, like are you not getting it, or what is the deal with that?
Yeah, maybe just, he was owed money and then said, it's okay, guys, goodbye, and that's it. But at the same time, like for they're one of the teams that with the new Valve rules are in a less of an enticing position because now they need to qualify through Europe, right?
That's true.
Instead of going through Asia.
That's a good point.
As the Middle East and North Africa, whatever region is joined towards Europe, because that's where generally they play Face It and everything. So it just kind of makes sense. So yeah, the team I don't think has that much appeal in general as it did before. They were playing some Chinese tournaments and stuff like that as Asian competitions, which I don't know if they can do that anymore, right? Because you still need to invite through VRS and everything. So it kind of changed the outlook for the team and completely, right?
That's a good point. Yeah, why play in a Middle Eastern team as a Middle Eastern player when you could play in a European team and you would be better off overall?
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, that framing definitely adds a lot there. All right, let's keep jumping through. For Striker, Oskar joins ALGO. I don't know what that means. I know there's a player called Oskar. What the fuck is ALGO?
And there's a team called ALGO. It is such a random occurrence. I think it's a Ukrainian organization. They used to have a Ukrainian team. Recently, they moved, I think like 3 months ago, they moved into an international one. It has Shara as a coach. So that's a start.
Okay.
It has Nuki or Nukia or whatever his name is pronounced like, which is Oscar's old teammate from Hellraisers from like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
It has Quartz, Oscar's latest teammate from Sinners, and it has Milky is the last one. And they don't have a fifth player at the moment. I
it's not the
don't know where
Milky
this
with a
came from.
W, the Polish player.
No,
this is Milky, a Bulgarian player.
Yes. I've never seen
him
on the internet. Yeah, I have in like some of these Bulgarian teams. But
I have definitely merged these two players into one.
His stats are
in my head,
bro. What's going on here?
I mean, it's two maps, though. Like you're looking at, or
his match. No, like his general stats. Not just with that team. Like,
so is this the end for Oscar? This is like the type of team I saw Edward on. After Navi.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I don't think. To be fair, I think. Well, not really. Never mind. My argument was gone the moment I looked again. No, I think you're right. I think it's kind of. It's clear that Oscar wants to keep playing, and he will play for whoever wants him. And I think obviously, at this point, even if he might be able to play on like a top 30-40 team, obviously he still put up pretty good numbers when he was in Sinners and all that. And when he was playing in Inner Circle, it was starting to go down a bit. But that team was also kind of like it broke apart after 2 months of being together, So
how old is Oscar?
34, I want to say.
Okay.
He's a bit older than me, yeah.
Okay, so just for everybody playing at home, Carrigan is also 34. Actually, Carrigan is now 35. So
he can still put up numbers for the tier 2, but no prospective team will buy a 34-year-old Opera, at this point. So it's difficult for him to play anywhere else.
If it doesn't work out regionally, that's when you're in strife.
Yeah.
Right? Like at this part of your career, if it's not working out regionally, and I mean with essentially your countrymen, and for you guys, I'll even let it bleed over to a couple of other countries just because I'm being generous. But otherwise, it's fucking over. So, all right, let's keep moving. Let's keep jumping along here. Let's get into the update. We'll talk about the update because that's going to have big implications on Cologne. So for those who missed it, Valve dropped the update. So we know that season 2 came to its conclusion. This is, what is it? Season 2, part 1?
2, episode 1.
Yeah, that's it. Because they don't want to say 3, right? Everybody, in case you missed the joke, no, Half-Life 3. That's the funny thing. We don't say 3 at Valve.
I was laughing at people who are like, does this mean there's going to be an episode 2? Is this like only the first part of the changes? I'm like, you guys completely missed the joke here. Like nobody really understood it.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an outdated thing. And I think people expect Valve to be super serious all the time. One of the things that, at least from my experiences talking to them, a lot of the time when you get them in a group, they can be quite trolly. And it's hard when you're looking at your gods and they're trolling and you're like, but I thought trolling was for us mere peasants.
Didn't everybody see like the Gaben skit from like Dota? I never watched even Dota, but I know the Gaben skit where they're like trying to get him to say 3, like because he's doing the voiceovers for like double kill, triple kill. And he never says triple because, or like he's like more than 2, but less than 4 or whatever it is, So like has nobody seen that?
Yeah, look, for maybe some of the newer users out there, right? People not so familiar with Valve and whatnot. But yeah, that's all a bit of a gag, so don't worry about that. But the big changes that happened is the cheating situation has not gotten any better. I'll tell you that much. But Overpass is back in, and there's bigger changes to the MP9, or there are changes to the MP9. I think it's debatable if they're big. People might have different opinions, as well as the new economy bonus for the CT. So this is a team-wide bonus based on the amount of players you eliminate within a round. So if you eliminate all 5 Ts within a round, you get an extra $250 per player. That is even for the player who is getting the kills, right? So you're getting the 300 reward.
Win-loss regardless.
Regardless of outcome. So let's start there, because as far as the changes are concerned, that one is the more interesting of the 3 changes to me. I think the MP9 is noticeably worse, right? The spray is a bit wider, right? The pattern, and also jumping has been nerfed a little bit, or nerfed a bit as well. So that's not going to be as promising, because people would use the agility of that weapon to its advantage. And then in the past, remember guys, they also nerfed it with crouching. So now it's copped another decent nerf for the CTs. But this economy change is essentially a bit of a buff. Now, the reason that they've made an economy change is it feels like a lot of people always talking about the CTs getting reset with that 1400 bonus. Now that's still in play, and that problem still will persist. You might get a little bit of extra cash, not enough that's going to make anything too noticeable. But the interesting point for me is when you're in these situations on the CT side where you're in a close patch of rounds, right? It's not back and forth, or maybe you've lost like one, you've won two, you lost one, then you won 2 or 3 in a row. But those 2 and the 3 in a row, the combination of those is maybe you're only having 1 or 2 players surviving on the CT side and you're just getting through. It's a close diffuse. Oh, we just won a 1v2 situation or something, and you're just holding on. Now, the Ts will have maxed out loss bonus. They'll be getting the 3,400 every round. They'll be getting the 600 thanks to the plant with the diffuse, or in some occasions they will, as well as the kill reward. So with AKs or Galils, they'll have that. They're the ones who get to set the tone and the tempo of the game. And the CTs are just holding on. That one guy, he respawns and he looks around and there's fucking 4 teammates who got $3,500 a loss bonus going, please, sir, give me the M4. And then you're having to work out who's taking a FAMAS, who's taking an MP9. Well, now, if you win the round with diffuse on the CT side and have 1 player survive, but you kill all 5 Ts, you get the 3,500 as the loss bonus, plus you get the 250. Yeah. So at this point, you're not even taking into the account who got the actual kill rewards from the frags, but everybody's going to be about the 3,750 mark. If you're at the 3,750 mark, now you get the choice. Do I want to go for a FAMAS with utility? Do I want to go for a nerfed MP9 with utility? Do I want to go for an M4 with, 1 piece of utility and Kevlar? Because those options are available now. It feels like you're not going to be strapped down to a lot lesser weaponry. Like, you will be able to still invest into M4s, maybe lacking util. That's going to be map dependent, like Banana and Inferno. You're definitely going to need players who can buy the utility to get the Banana control. But I feel like you can have a couple more rifles. I played a lot of games. I played some Prem games. I played some Faceit games. Yesterday was such a bad day. I cracked my phone. Ooh. So that's sad. I already bought another one. I'll pick it up in Cologne. But I cracked my phone screen, so that's really sad. I have to get a new one. And then I lost like 7 out of 8 games on Faceit yesterday. It was just one of those days. And I kept playing. It's like the gambler's fallacy. You're like, eventually I'm going to win. And it was such a sad day. But it was in the name of research. And I researched 2 things. One, that I suck. And second of all, that the economy, if you're winning, which obviously I wasn't doing a lot of, it feels like you have, just a little bit of extra surplus, right? If you're winning a lot and you're winning hard, okay, then the surplus feels big. But if you're, winning just a decent amount, okay, I got a little bit more cash to splash. What I think it's going to help with is those scenarios I was just explaining. In the close games where you're only losing, you're only winning, but just is going to give you that little buffer. So that for me is probably the biggest factor. There's going to be a lot of funky ones, I guess, guys. Like, oh, they got this many kills, and if he saves this armor, then he's going to have this much money to buy this thing, and it's gonna be a bit more on the fly, and a bit more situational. But what are your guys' general takeaways when you see this?
I wonder. This is actually something that I just came up with now because it just feels a little bit too on the nose to be an accident, which is that they nerf an MP9. And they bring in a bonus that effectively helps you buy a FAMAS in those situations where it's close. Like you can buy basically full utility if you buy FAMAS and Kevlar, or at least like 3 pieces of utility if you buy a FAMAS and Kevlar. Right? What is a FAMAS now? It's not.
The FAMAS is 1950.
1950. You don't get a molly, right? Like you don't get a full molly plus smoke, an 8 flash. You don't get there. I would have to do the math, but you don't.
I'm doing the math right now. You keep going.
But my point is, like, I wonder how much it is also like in terms of incentivizing people to play with the FAMAS more, because I think that was a big issue with CT side and these buys especially, because nobody really liked the FAMAS, and so people would just rather default to the MP9. But that is now kind of not an option. So I wonder if it's just going to indirectly cause more FAMAS buys as a rule. I would be surprised if it didn't. At least I'm just curious whether the MP9 buffs are actually going to be powerful enough, because the situation that it was used in was quite close range, so you don't necessarily maybe care about the fact that you have to pull down more, if you're spamming, so it's not, I'm not sure it will necessarily impact so much the play style that MP9 is supposed to be used in. Like, of course, the jumping around corners and like getting jumping shots is not going to be possible because that was nerfed to the ground apparently. Like, I was trying it out and it's like, it is pretty bad. Like, now trying to jump and trying to get some of these shots around the corner and whatever, and like when you're entering, it's obviously going to make things harder. But other than that, like if you're just, making these flash plays, like, let's say contact or like, pop flash plays where you just go around the corner, like on Banana, for example, you take over top Banana, right? Like some of these plays are still going to be entirely possible with the MP9. You just have to be a little bit more selective with how you use it, I guess. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
Fair enough. Prof?
I mean, I was
he comboed the MP9 into the financial conversation. What's your thoughts?
that's pretty good. I was doing, so I took out the calculator here to put in some numbers. Like Again, I was on vacation. The whole update thing, I saw the Molotov thing first. I saw Overpass, obviously.
Yeah.
And then this part was kind of like under the radar. I saw something about it, and then today I was going back into it, and I was like, $50 for everyone per kill seems like quite a significant bonus night. It's not. First of all, I like the idea. The idea is let's have people get more kills. Like let's incentivize CTs getting kills regardless of the situation, which makes sense because incentivize people to go either for retakes or for exit frags at least. So it's not like people are just like sitting on the other half of the map. Maybe in some situations it will push them to go for kills more often than not. But then just thinking about it, essentially a kill for the team of the CT side is almost double in worth. It depends on how you look at it, because it's a kill is 300, right?
Yep.
For a normal gun.
For a normal gun, yeah.
Plus 250 because 50 times 5, right?
Sure.
So the team overall gets 550 at least for every kill on the CT side now, which seems like a huge increase.
I see what you're saying when you break it down. One person can't do a lot with $50.
Yeah, but that is the thing. But it kind of adds up. So I was doing some quick math. So I think average kill per round is like 0.75, somewhere around that.
I was just asking Harry about that if he has the number, because I was also curious. But it would be somewhere
times
there, yeah.
5 players times 12 rounds. That would be 45 kills in a half for a CT side on average. Times 50 is 2,250.
We're going deep on this, huh?
So essentially, per half, you get a free FAMAS.
Okay.
And actually, no, the old price of the FAMAS. I guess now it's cheaper.
It's 1950 now, yeah.
Yeah. You get a FAMAS and
that's like an extra half buy, or like an extra buy where you would have a half buy otherwise. That's not unreasonable.
But I think the thing is the way you're framing this now is so broad that like, if people take what you're saying as like the literal interpretation, that's the problem, because Counter-Strike is such a situational game,
yeah, it's
right?
very situational. But this is just to think of it, how much it's going to buff the CT side. Just imagine you get like a half buy for free. That's just on average going to happen. Like the CT side will have one half buy for free.
Sure. I think that's probably the best angle to leave it at that. The thing is, I want to watch how the pros manipulate the economy.
Yes.
To see how I feel about it, because I can play with it and I can have my games and that's fine, right? But my experience, I'm never sitting there going like I'm just playing pugs, right? So for my experience, is not, I want to say life or death. It's also not life or death for them, but it is in terms of their career, and they're playing to be the best in the world. So the way that they're going to do it is going to be on a completely different level. But yeah, again, I just felt, you had a little bit of extra cash. That was it. But in terms of if they make sure they get this exit kill and wipe all the teeth, I'm not there in that situation. I also can't see the whole ball.
I don't think anybody will necessarily be able to do that like live. Maybe there will be somebody who's like dead and like who's going to try to figure it out in that moment, like if it's worth trying to go for that kill. I don't think that will necessarily be a big conversation though.
I think it will take some time for people, because it does reset how some things are looked at. Like some situations in the past, you knew like in this situation, you should not go for a kill or go for a kill or die or save 100%. This is the better option, even though people still saved like USPs on pistols, which is objectively you're giving more money to the T's and shit like this. Depends on, how many people are alive and stuff like that. But a lot of these situations now you need to recalibrate what is the good and what is worth doing and what is not worth doing. So I think it's like a small change. Like you still play the game. If you're like a casual, you play it the same. You just buy every round and don't give a fuck about anything. But on the top level and these like specific like forced buy situations, especially the first 3 rounds where you kind of have a better gauge of where the economy is and where it can be. Later on, maybe a bit harder, but I think it'll be pretty interesting, because it will require everyone to lock in and be like, okay, is this the good decision or is it not the good decision? How can we get into a better spot from whatever 2v4 that we maybe should save, but our equipment is kind of dog shit anyway, so maybe we can get some kills now, upgrade, or get more money for a third guy who could get an op or whatever, if you.
I'm curious, like with this type of a change, it makes me wonder what was the problem that they were trying to solve. Obviously, the pressure on the CT finances because everything costs more, right? Like the M4s now are only 200 more than the AK, but they're still more. You have to buy a diffuse kit, which is 400. Your incendiary costs more than a Molotov, only by 100, but still it costs more. So you don't on the CT side always need head armor. So there's one bonus for you, whereas on the T side you do. So there's actually quite a big difference in terms of spend on a gun round. But I just look at this and I wonder how they got to this choice. And I'm not saying I don't like this choice. I'm just curious because this was never in my realm, right? Like everybody kind of just this is a new thing. Everybody kind of just uses the framework of the old thing and goes, okay, well, let's just get rid of 1400 loss bonus then. Right? But they've gone, okay, how do we make this make sense?
I mean, it could also come from, like, we also saw changes to the bomb radius, right, which was effectively aimed at, they're trying to get, people to be more incentivized to go for kills, right, and to go for the round and these things or more kills would happen because T's have to exit they're at risk more, of losing their gun, so they're going to be forced to exit the bomb site early, so which makes it easier for the retake because they can't just, hide in the corner for the entire round and then just effectively never give the CTs a chance to come in, so that was like, maybe this is step 2 of that, where they're like, okay, let's incentivize getting kills more, even on the CT side, instead of saving, and if that was the choice, I'm not entirely sure that that's going to change, to be honest. I don't really see it. I don't really see situations where CTs will go for more just because of this, let's say 250 extra kill bonus. Effectively, a saved gun is always going to be worth more than the risk of losing it and getting an extra 1,250 across the team, for not 1,250, 250 for every kill, So if that was the thinking, I don't really see how that would be the reason, or the way.
I guess the biggest point of this being an issue feels if you're a CT getting broken late in a game or getting broken early in a game. Now, obviously late, like what happened to Astralis yesterday on Ancient, right? If people didn't catch that game, they got broken super late in that Ancient game second half, and their final round or their final 2 rounds was essentially fuck all. Like it was a couple of MP9s and they didn't have a lot of money to spend. That's the financial factor always has to be have a place in Counter-Strike because that's a huge part of the game, right? The biggest critique point is the pressure on the CT's buys early. So if you win pistol, lose second, get 1,400 loss going into third, and you don't save anything, you're essentially fucked, right? $1,400 in the third round of the game isn't getting you an awful lot. You get a couple kills, sure. This extra bonus isn't going to help push you to a point of being able to, like across the board, be able to buy anything crazy. Maybe one guy has a couple more kills and he can drop an M4. Teams are getting better and better at doing more with less or having more moves around less. And those things have to work. Like your stack has to find you the first. Like they can't just completely outmaneuver you or be ready for it. Right. But teams are getting better at that. It's just, I guess, think about it this way. If you win the pistol on the CT side by defusal and you kill all 5 of the Ts, the Ts are going to be able to go for those Galil buys, right? Those like 2.9, 3K kind of Galil buys or Mac 10s or Tech 9s with utility. And you on the CT side, normally when you'd go into that first gun round, are going to be in a tougher, that first, it's not gun round, the anti-force round, maybe only have 1 or 2 M4s max. And that's even a hard thing to do, right? Like if you don't take damage on your armor and then you can upgrade to head armor for cheap and then you have enough money to buy an M4 and then you maybe light it on some nades, but this is where killing all 5 and getting a defuse on that first gun round, the pistol round, sorry, could actually have really big ramifications in terms of the flow of the game early. But you're not going to, you always, first of all, you want to stop them planting. And second of all, you always want to kill all the Ts. So, right, like this is I'm just speculating right now, right? I'm talking a little bit out of my ass.
I mean, it could also not be incentivizing to go for more kills, but just rewarding them more, like just so that you do have more options later on. Like it could have nothing to do with incentivizing. It could just be Valve saying, okay, CT economy is a problem, and maybe if we increase the kill reward effectively, then it will help them in these situations where they just barely don't have enough, right? In other situations, so it could just be that like little nudge to CT economy that will help them. I mean, it could be the thinking, right?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, we'll talk more about it after we see Cologne go down and get some better sense of feeling, because that's a lot of what it's going to be. And then look at examples of teams who are manipulating it in a certain way or trying to get a certain outcome. Okay, coming into the next big change was obviously the map change. Now, Striker, you made comment on this on the last episode, and you made comment on this before, but I think it's a point that we need to reiterate, because Valve aren't a company that's going to come out and say this is what's happening. But it seems like it's standard practice now that there is going to be a map change after every major / season of Prem, right? It's the last 3.
Yeah, after Copenhagen, we had Overpass out, just to in. After Shanghai, we had Vertigo out,
train in,
and now obviously this one, where we have Anubis out for Overpass. So very clear, what they're trying to do. It was just directly after the major effectively. I mean, I know that we would like it to be a little bit faster than that, but effectively directly after the major, they're making these changes. So yeah, I think it's fair to say that is a clear choice.
Okay, so in case the people in the back didn't hear this, it would be reasonable, it's not a guarantee, but it would be reasonable to have an expectation that after each and every major, so every 6 months essentially, there will be a change in the map pool. It is a reasonable expectation, but not a guarantee. Did I feel like I covered my bases there?
I think you covered your bases, because when you think about Valve and what they don't want to promise, let's say, it's always like, we'll take our time, and when it's ready, it's ready, and so like I don't think they actually want to announce this to the world, but they're like, showing these hints that like, okay, maybe this is a good way to go. They're
taking the horse to water, but they can't make it drink. Now, I think important to return to what you said. The Overpass went out not that long ago. It was kind of a bit of a statement piece in Spirit's Katowice victory, right? That was that was like the last map in the series against FaZe where they demolished them there. Now, Overpass is not a new map to the pool. It's not new in terms of it's not an ancient, it's not an Anubis. It just hasn't come from nowhere. Like, this is a seasoned map that we've had since 2015, I believe 14. It came 2014.
Yeah, Cologne 14 was the first major.
That's right. That's because then they've had we always had to ban Cobble and Overpass because we couldn't crack it in Australia. Yikes. Okay, so it's been around for over a decade. Now, obviously, it's undergone quite a few changes in that time, but the modern version is very akin to what people could expect over the better part of the last 5 years or so, right, of Overpass. There hasn't been too many changes in that regard. Now, this version from the one that was being played in CS2 in the beginning has had some changes. There's some wires that are missing. There's some water that's not in the server, right? If you drop out of heaven, it has to be onto that tire. There's a couple little ledges that were there that aren't there anymore, for example. So there have been some changes, some light changes that have been made to the map. But overall, this map coming in, a lot of the players who are playing now will have played Overpass at some point in their careers as a player on the come up, right? So Overpass is going to be in the mix. Now, the biggest question and the biggest conversation is, why not from this map, right? That's what you see. Why Anubis? Why this? Why that? Is anybody surprised to see Anubis being the map removed?
I am kind of. I don't know.
Okay.
It's kind of new. I think it's obviously the play is not that high, but I also felt like it came and went in different kind of periods. Some periods have played quite a bit. I don't know. I enjoyed watching it. It also looks very pretty. It's a good map to have from a Valve perspective. Like when you just join the game, it just looks good. So in some ways, slightly surprised. I don't think many people are like, oh, we need to. I mean, yes, Donk fucking hated the map and some of the pros, but that was mostly about CT side being very tough.
Forced into aggression.
Yeah, it is quite limiting in that, and kind of oppressive almost to play the CT side. But I thought that was fine. I thought that was a nice dynamic to have in the map pool. So that's why I'm kind of sad to see it to see it go. And for a map that's completely the other direction in terms of very CT sided, very slow, very big, just huge.
I wonder if it's I mean, it's probably not, but it would be funny if this was all a part of the anti-Maui stake, kind of line of thinking where he's like, oh, everything's so T-sided now. And they're like, okay, so let's help the CT side and let's bring the most CT-sided map we've ever had in the pool back. That would be just so funny.
Well, I think that there is a conversation to be had about the type of play style that Overpass will force, because a lot of people, when you get to play it in a pug or a prem or a comp or whatever, is much different to what the pros are going to play, right? It's a very, very slow map. It's very save heavy. You're going to see them essentially take map control for the first minute, right? They need to win connector, they need to win bathrooms, and then at that point it comes into like weird CT reaggresses on hoping to catch timings. And then if not, you've got what you used one smoke for bathrooms, you used a molly connector, you used a molly divider, you used a molly short, there's 3 mollies used. You probably extinguished the smoke, extinguished the molly in short pipe as a T coming through to get the control. Maybe you smoked off connector so that you can work up connector because the CTs like to blow open door. All right, guys.
But wasn't the reality like at some point that people just went B? People went B every round.
That was a couple years. That was like towards the end of the Astralis reign. Remember, they would just do like these B executes, right? You would just get that. The CTs kind of shifted their meta a bit. It used to be like double molly, like 1 to T stairs, 1 to playground entrance. But now that I think the delay or the change of the molly, it's only 5 seconds for both. I even think Spirit were doing smoke for T stairs and then molly for playground. And then they would just try and like either fight if you push through the smoke or whatever. So it is a slower map. If it does play out very B heavy, like Prof's saying, that's great. We'll just do B rush simulator where the CTs start 4B and the Ts just hope that their execute and flashes land perfectly. But it is a slower map, and I think it will have an impact on the game overall, because at the moment I think Counter-Strike plays very fast, very in your face, like a lot of strafing, a lot of swinging, and Anubis definitely played into that style of play, where I think Overpass plays into a different style of play. So a positive change from that, as well as AWPers. AWPers are going to get a bit of a resurgence, a little bit more time in the sun, because this is a great map for AWPers. A lot of long lines, a lot of peaks available for the AWPers, a lot of repositioning available for the AWPers. So players like Device are really going to get a lot of good stuff out of this map change. I guess the question is not about the map coming in, because people are relatively happy with Overpass, I would say, on general. It's about the criteria for deciding what goes out. And that I don't think we'll ever know. Like, we could sit here and speculate. Anubis was definitely like in the bottom 3. Like Train, people would say, oh, it sucks. They just added it. There's no way they're going to remove Train that early. Then you have like, you've got your Mirage, your Dust 2, and your Inferno, which everybody hates one of the 3. Or maybe not everybody, but some people out there hate one of the 3, and they're like, "Why not? Those are the 3 most popular maps, right? Those are the 3 most popular maps." Then they could say, "Okay, Dust 2 is a bit stale." Yeah, that one I definitely think could have been up for conversation. But maybe if Cash comes in, Dust 2 goes out, because those maps have some similarities.
Back a year ago, right? Now it's just so it's not such a long time that we've had it back in the new form. So.
Yeah, I think it's just to do with the criteria, like the criteria that we don't know. So I guess they talk to people at the major. They also look at stats. Like right now, if you look at 2025 maps played online, Ancients first, then Mirage, then Dust 2, Nuke, Anubis, Inferno, Train.
I mean, it's curious that what you're talking about, the old maps, right? I mean, Inferno, Nuke, Mirage, we've had in the pool for like a good Mirage, obviously the whole time, but I think the latest one that went out was Nuke, and that was like 20, or went back was like 2018. I don't remember now, but it's been quite a long time since we've had any of those 3 change, and I wonder if that means, unless they want to rebuild it completely, they will just stay as like a base, and the other ones will rotate, because we've seen that for long enough time that it feels like it's pretty safe to say, those ones are staying for a while, especially with this one now. Because like Inferno, I think, was probably the one that most people were calling for, exactly because super save heavy, right? Really difficult to retake, really difficult to play for CTs as well. And unless you get banana control, these things just in the past it was very claustrophobic, and I think that was probably the most sensible in terms of like what just doesn't really play well on pro, but I don't think that's necessarily reflected on casual play, So I think that probably plays into it as well. As you say, top three most popular map in matchmaking, I would imagine still to this day, after the big 2, Dust 2, Mirage, that is just basically like matchmaking heaven. Yes, effectively. So I would imagine that probably plays into it. They just don't want to throw out a map that has this much play. We've had it with Dust 2 before, so it's not like they haven't done it before. It's just more like maybe this is their latest core map base, and that's the rest we will see change. I mean, and if you think about Anubis, that's the oldest out of those that's been in, because it came in 2020, I think.
It could use some changes as well. I think it could use a couple changes as well, just to kind of help with the balancing of the map overall, just give it a few more options. So I think even Ancient, it's my favorite map, but I think it's starting to get a little bit stale too, because a lot of the approaches are quite similar. So yeah, but okay, Overpass is in now. Let's bring up this, because let's shift into the Cologne conversation now, because something that's going to be important is obviously the financial ramifications of what we were just talking about, as well as the map. So Cologne will be using Overpass, which is important. Now, for those not familiar with Cologne, 24-team event. event. It's going to be going in stage 1, stage 2. Then the playoff stage 1 is going to be a double elimination bracket where we get 8 teams to go join the 8 big boys. Now, the 8 big boys waiting are going to be Vitality, G2, Falcons, the Mongols, and MATYS, NAVI, Aurora, Spirit. So those are the 8 teams waiting. But what we want to do is, do you want me to share this, Lucas? Is this the best way to do it? To share my screen? Yeah, share screen. Okay, hold up. You're doing it? Okay, Lucas is doing it. So go to the second last slide, Lucas, where I have crudely put together a bit of a perma ban. Now, Striker was assisting me with this, and there's some stuff which we'll go over in terms of, maybe why
some anomalies,
but right now, just taking a look at this. So for argument's sake, we've got ancient bans, Vitality, Aurora, Furia. Furia are one of those teams that have been dabbling with it. They played it at Fisher. Anubis is one of the more banned maps. So teams like MATYS, Falcons, Gamer Legion, Astralis, and Big, they can just ban Overpass. Now, I think for Gamer Legion, they will definitely play it, right?
Yeah.
Well, we've all seen Ash. He loves the map, right? Ash absolutely loves Overpass. So I'm pretty sure that Gamer Legion will go back to their previous ban, which was Dust 2. And we're likely to see them move in with Overpass. But this is all going to happen so quickly, right? So do you think for this event, if you're Gamer Legion, do you just ban Overpass until you have time to work on it? Or do you think you just bring it in? Do you think it's even going to get played a lot? That's another question.
I mean, for a team like that, you'd probably say that it's nice to at least be ready to play it, so that you can just maybe bully the big teams on it, because there will be some big teams that probably will try to shy away from it, maybe because they didn't have so much time to focus on it and all that stuff. So maybe being ready to play it at least, or at least posturing like you are ready to play it, could play into their favor. So I would say, as much as they didn't have that much time, they also went out kind of early at Fisher, so they had maybe a few extra days to look over it, like get their basics on it, down on it, at least to be ready. I would like, with how much time they had, I would also be surprised if they were like one of the teams that just picks it into a team, just because they've like been grinding it for like the last 2 weeks straight, just so that they can get some upset wins on it. I would say that would not be Gamer Legion.
So just quickly, someone in chat asked if this is the Cologne teams. Yeah, this is just all the teams who are going to be playing in Cologne over the next 2 weeks. The train bands are Pain, FaZe, G2, Liquid, the Mongols, and FlyQuest. You've got Mirage bands of NIP, 3D Max, and Complexity, Nuke bands of VP and Bait, and Inferno bands of Spirit and Heroic. Inferno and Nuke are the 2 least banned maps out of the ones, at least first stage bands that we have in attendance. And then Dust 2 bands for MIBR, NAVI, and TYLOO. So like NAVI,
another one of those anomalies, yeah.
Yes. So some of these teams, especially at the major, and teams who were floundering in their map pools, did make some changes. Navi's one that we saw start to bring Train into their map pool throughout the last season, which they weren't doing. Then they were removing Dust 2. So be curious to see how this shakes it up for them, especially with a new player coming in as well. Those are other things to keep in mind. So yeah, that's what you can expect. Now, Lucas, if you go to the next slide, Striker, you can explain this one here.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of like put together like
think about this like a pyramid, just quickly for the people at home.
Of teams, right? Like, so let's say this is like priority 1 to 7, right? And that depends on. I just went through maps played in 2025 and kind of looked at how many Anubises a team played, how often they were picking it, and things like that, and like put this little priority list together, which effectively goes like from MIBR, which is the team that picked it pretty often. Actually, I think it was their most common pick. Then through teams like Aurora, Liquid, Complexity, Furia, we all know like they used to be picking it quite a lot, but not so much in recent times. But still, have it quite deep in their map pool, and it goes down right all the way to the 4 teams that don't play it at all, and that are probably pretty safe to assume are going to be in an advantage. Astralis, Falcons, Big Mouse, that just had it as perm bans up until now. So like this just kind of paints a picture of who's going to be the most affected and who it's going to help the most. The fact that Anubis went out, for Overpass.
Okay, well, Prof, you look at this and you think about the conversation that we're having and the state of a lot of these teams here.
Yeah.
Obviously, the top-down conversation, Vitality, the best team in the world. Do you think this impacts them negatively, positively?
Not really too much. I don't think so. I mean, obviously, I think overall it will put pressure on them, because any change for the team that's number 1 will kind of require them to prove again that they are really good and get over these things. And it's it's not even just the map, but it's also some of the CT changes and the economy changes and stuff like that, and essentially nerfing the T side, right, which on Vitality we're really good on across all of the maps. So I think it's a bit of pressure on them, and especially because it's Falcons permaban that's being removed in comparison, and MATYS, for example, which are two teams that are the closest challengers for them. So I think it puts a bit of pressure on them, but not like in terms of like, oh, we are now super concerned at anything like that.
All right, what other big takeaways do you have from this? Do you think other teams?
I mean, I was looking at Aurora, for example. I think they're going to be having a tough time because it was one of their go-to maps. Even as Striker says, recently not as much, but still, I think 80% of the teams respected Aurora's Anubis quite a bit. So either in the veto or on the map, if they ended up playing, they knew that was going to be a tough time. So they have that going out, plus Xantares now not being in Cologne and questionable when and how long that will take. So it's I think it's definitely going to be a hit towards Aurora, who ended up again on not the brightest note at the end of the season with the major and everything.
Do you think this will continue their slow downfall at the moment?
I think they're like still going to be a top 10 team, but I think they're like consistently making, obviously they made all the playoffs except the major.
Austin,
in the first half of the year. But I think that will not be the reality of the second season of this year. I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, second big one would be Liquid, right? So, I mean, that's they made it
actually. Can I just
not happy about it? Yeah.
Can I just add on the Aurora thing, because there's a forum thread something about like major retiring at the end of the season. I don't know if you guys saw this. It was like a vlog from blah blah, and there was some comment that he made. I actually DM'd him, and he said like it's probably his Turkish that is bad, because he essentially said something like, let's focus until the end of the year, but not like after the end of the year there's nothing happening, but it's like, yeah, we have stuff going on and this is blah blah what we're doing. So it wasn't the intention for him to be like, oh, this is my last season playing pro.
I see. Okay.
Just wanted to clarify that because someone asked in chat as well. So that's the thing. Yeah, but you can continue with Liquid.
Yeah. No, Liquid is probably the second biggest, maybe Complexity somewhere in that same conversation. They were pretty reliant on their Anubis. Furia a bit less so, I would say. They kind of switched to a lot of train now, but obviously, as we saw before, a lot of those teams are banning train, so it's probably maybe not going to help them out so much in Cologne specifically. So it's not the best pick to have in your arsenal, at least against certain type of teams. And then I think, as you said before, like Spirit, some of these teams that are a bit higher up, I don't think they are going to mind Overpass being back. Like Donk, like Overpass toilets is historically the place where CTs get the highest ratings of any map anywhere. So like imagine Donk, what he used to do in Overpass, as you said, in Katowice, there's that big phase map and all these things. Like he's gonna love it. There was like a Donk Shiro combination on A, and like what can you even do when you go up against that? So I think they're gonna be fine. It's more about some of these teams that are kind of in flux, right? Like 3D Max is also like one of the teams that kind of like to pick it every now and again, right?
For sure.
And they're on the way down, so it's going to be a struggle for them to adapt to the new map pool, probably. I would say that's probably the big one that I would be looking at in terms of outside of the top teams.
Even FaZe and Furia started to play at an awful, especially like the major campaigns, right? It felt like maps that they were content with. But what I'm doing right now is I'm just looking at the opening round matches for stage 1. So FaZe versus Big. Well, Big, if Big just ban Overpass, they can keep their map pool as is. You won't see it in that series. Liquid versus Pain, they both ban Train. Even though we've also seen Pain banning Ancient. So probably
they just were switching towards Train now, basically because of Anubis obviously coming out. So
so it'll be interesting to see. But in that one, there's a free ban, so maybe you just remove Overpass because one of those two teams will have a free ban. So probably don't see it in that series. 3D Max versus MIBR, as you were just talking about with 3D Max, that one, it definitely can come in there. So because these are all best, they could just be second round ban. There could just be a lot of like gentleman's agreement, because in the early stage of this, unless you're super confident in your Overpass, and we saw teams early on in this season that's just gone by who picked Train earlier, and wasn't it like the first like 5 or 6 games Train was picked, the team who picked it lost? That was so
the underdogs trying to upset essentially.
Now, to be fair, that was train that was much different from old train, whereas this overpass is very similar to the old overpass, right?
I'm curious though, like about that, because as much as we had like a good half of a year of CS2, I think CS2 has moved into a direction where a lot of these, little tricks and all these things developed a lot. And in terms of how you use it, right? Like, let's say you do like a smoke and instant nade combo, just to kind of take T's off guard. Like we saw that, we actually did see that in like some of these plays on so on short, when they blow up the door, what CTs would do instead would be they would smoke the door and then they would blow it up. They would blow up the smoke and the door at the same time, let's say sometimes. And so some of these things, some of these tricks, I wonder if something's going to change in terms of some of these nade combos that we've seen only develop more later into CS2 rather than at the beginning, where teams were still trying to figure out what do we use nades for, where do we actually, when can we do these combinations? I think that's still, there's probably a lot of development to be had on Overpass, which just didn't have that much time, for all this to be developed in CS2. I would imagine it's not going to change much now, exactly because we haven't really had that much time. We've only learned about it coming in a week ago, so I don't expect fucking Robs. I mean, Robs probably will.
Probably the example of someone who has.
Yeah, exactly. Robs might have just spent the last fucking week figuring out all sorts of shit for Overpass that he didn't know from the first half of the year of CS2 or whatever.
If we were still doing what are the odds, this would be a good time to do, what are the odds that Overpass has played more than 5 times, like we did with Train at the start of the year.
I mean, it's probably pretty likely. I mean, it's a much easier map to just pick up and play, right? I mean, some of these, as long as you know the basic nades of like map control and all these things, I think you're pretty safe to play it. Like, it's not such a hard map to play.
I remember when Dust 2 was reintroduced, though, that teams took a little while to go back to like, okay, so we locked down long, and then I know it just was a couple of games I watched when it was reintroduced, and it was quite baffling to see it took teams a little while to get back into where the meta was at before. I don't expect that to be the case this time around, especially with the top teams and the structures we have. Like, the coaches will just be in charge of bringing it back to where they were. So, okay, yeah, well, I guess we can just dive into Cologne overall a little bit more now, can't we?
I just wanted to ask you, what do you think Falcons are doing? Falcons and MATYS specifically. Do you think
do they think they're picking up Overpass?
Yeah. I think Falcons know, because Nico always hated Overpass, and I don't think they played much of it, even with MATYS and G2.
I think MATYS could.
I think MATYS could, yeah.
Like what? Just take a look at MATYS' map pool right now. So with this current 5, their weakest maps, at least win rate percentage, are Inferno and Dust 2. Their most played map is Nuke, which is their highest win rate percentage as well. Then Ancient is the next in terms of win rate. They've only played Train 8 times, but they have a decent win rate on that. So I feel like once upon a time, Inferno was their weakness, right? And with this win rate here, it's still obviously not great, but teams would like to pick it against them a lot, so they get a lot more reps on it. So I remember, do you remember old MATYS used to ban Dust 2? I'm pretty sure. This was going back a couple years.
Yeah, I can't.
I don't know which one. Like some of these lineups that MATYS had.
Or what are we talking about? Like old MATYS?
Yeah, you're right. It was still MATYS with some of the academy players.
Old MATYS. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
I know. What? How old? How old
one
are we
with
talking?
Cypher Coaching, I'm pretty sure used to ban Dust 2.
I think. Yeah. I think you're right. Yeah.
Okay, well, sorry, I should have said a few more parameters than old MATYS.
I think the first Cyclone version, which was like the early NBK, and then like I think that part, that like 22, I want to say, early 22 maybe.
Yeah, sorry, I fucked that whole conversation
That's
up by saying old MATYS. But either way, yeah, there is chance for them to make it. I don't think Falcons. Well, I don't know. Falcons could have a really strong team on Overpass, don't you think?
Yeah, I do think that. That's what I was thinking about as well. Like, it depends on how you want to position people, but definitely the CT side could be quite sexy, and there's a lot of fighting going on, especially depending on how aggressive you want to play the CT side, right? Then there's a lot of options, and obviously it's for Oppers, it's a really good map, so you could get a lot out of MATYS there versus maybe Inferno, for example. I don't know. I know their Inferno has been up and down. There recently some bad losses, but they do play it quite a bit. But it's win rate wise, it is their worst map this year, 42%.
All right. Well, let's just talk about things a little bit more general right now, because Cologne is one of the marquee events within the calendar year. So the fact that it is the first big event out of the break, and we haven't seen the big teams play before with a soft entry event like a bounty or something like that, means that we're going to be getting the debut of the G2 roster with MATYS and Pius joining Hunter, taking over the in-game leadership, Malbs, Heavy God, and then Sora as the coach. We're going to have Vitality, which is the top story for all of this. Like, can anybody topple them? And can they win this event and keep the conversation going for the double Grand Slam? Will they still be dominant, right? There's that whole convo there. The Mongols coming in to back up what they did by having a deep major run. Sure, the conversation can be about a weaker field, but they still were able to get rid of their issues on the stage and play some good CS. Senzu looking like the superstar he needs to be. Falcons with Kiyosuke. Mouse with no changes. Navi with makazze coming in. Aurora with X-Flat as the stand-in. And then Spirit with zweih. So that's for the top 8 teams. What interests you boys the most there?
I would say, I mean, obviously, Falcons, G2 Spirit. So I think
G2, really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm actually really interested to see how this works.
It's a good roster. Like, it looks
obviously,
exciting.
I'm not saying they're going to be winning this tournament or that they should be competing with like Vitality and stuff like that, but I'm really curious to see how this all comes together, because I think it's like 5 really good players and a good coach. So I think there is potential, but it will also probably maybe take time, maybe not. Maybe they come off a honeymoon period and it's insane right off the start.
I think Vibes would be pretty good in that team.
Yeah, should be. I don't know much about MATYS. I don't know if I've ever been at an event where he has been so far. Says a lot about Fnatic's success in the last year or so. But
I saw him at a pro league.
Yeah,
you know, he was at a pro league, but I didn't mind him when I first saw him. It looked like he has the aggression about him, which I think is needed as part of this roster. So, because well, Sampaius likes to get stuck in. Malbs is quite aggressive. Yeah,
I mean, it's more about where he's going to slot in, because I mean, he's going to
CT sides or T sides.
CT sides, especially. I think that's going to be a bit of a struggle for him, maybe. He's I mean, it could also turn out that Hunter will just take a lot of the hit, right? But still, I don't think it will be MATYS will get the active positions that he would like.
Do you think Saw just decides all of this, though? Do you think Saw just says these are the positions you guys are playing?
I think it's always going to be a conversation with Hunter. For it's like, I doubt that it's just going to be like, nope, this is my way or the highway. You know, I feel like there's going to be a conversation, but yeah, who knows? We can ask.
Well, it's like when you look at the Fnatic roster, definitely he has to be a little bit different in this team than he was within the Fnatic team, I would say, because they had Crimson Blame F, right? So you would need him to be more of an aggressive player than anything.
Even in the Slovakian teams and stuff, like he was kind of like the second coming of Neofrag, I used to call him, you know, because that was also a guy who just liked to open up space all the time, and TCT, it didn't matter. Like, he just went aggressive where he wanted and just headshotted people, you know. That was the type of guy that he was in the local teams, you know. So I think it was just, Fnatic was just more of the same.
Okay. Well, for me, if I'm going to look at this, I'm more interested in the Falcons and the Spirit one. I know you mentioned them as well, though, Prof, but those two are the ones who are in immediate position to contend against Vitality. So just looking how far in a short period of time that these changes that these teams have made can propel them to get closer. We know Falcons have been close before. Spirit feel like they've dropped off the pace a little bit. So it'd be nice to see them be able to up the level with zweih in the team. So those ones are quite interesting for me out of the top 8.
I think for Spirit, the angle I'm looking at is like, I think zweih will be pretty good individually. I think that's not going to be a huge question mark. My question is more like, how will the team dynamic change in any way? Like, how will the rest of the players react to this new addition? Because he's a different player to MATYS. Like, has more potential individually from what we saw, and I don't think will be as supportive to the other players on the roster. And this is something that MATYS was really good at, and I think he was kind of the glue player for this lineup. So will that actually work out better? As in, like, you just have a guy that's going to be more focused on getting the kills, which eventually, you know, do win you the games? Or will some of the other players actually fall off because now we have a guy that's a lot less experienced, doesn't maybe communicate as well, doesn't set up the other guys? So I think that's the angle that I'm interested about, like seeing Spirit in Cologne mainly.
Actually, a lot of what JL was saying as well about zweih and MATYS, the conversation when you were out last week.
I didn't watch it, but he's a pretty smart guy, so makes sense that he would say the same things as me.
There you go. This NAVI one, someone in chat said, what about NAVI? Look, it's not that the makazze signing doesn't move the needle enough for me to get excited about NAVI. Now, this isn't to detract from him as a rising talent. This is to talk about the state of NAVI, right? There's not enough other pieces on NAVI that show a level of consistency that make them an exciting prospect. And now you bring in a guy who has, as we learned, played some matches against top 30 teams, but not on LAN. I remember last time we were having this conversation, people were like, yeah, but like you said, like, what about this guy and this guy and this guy? Like they all did it. But what they do is they take confirmation bias instead of actually like going, well, what about this player who never actually was anything, right? What about this guy who never actually, what about Brokey, who joined the team not initially as an AWPer, then became an AWPer, and then became, what are we talking about, guys? Like, we're not comparing the pairs here. We got to be talking like the player that has the two players that have had three. There's three players who've probably had the same like level of hype about them in the last 4 years: m0NESY, Donk, and Kyosuke. Right? I don't think there's been any other player that has been in that same category. There's been other players that have been hyped or been excited, but none of like that level. The player that was before m0NESY was what? zweih.
zweih, yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't even think Kyosuke is on the same level of hype of m0NESY and Donk or
really.
zweih. I think he is really hyped.
I think zweih wasn't like that crazy hyped as Kyosuke was, for example, to be honest.
I think Kyosuke is fucking giga hype,
like,
bro.
For the past half of a year, it's been nothing, like forum threads and everything.
I feel like okay, in terms of like hyped by experts versus hyped by the community.
Okay.
Yes, no one believed in zweih because zweih existed before zweih. No one existed like that before. Like a guy that was just he, but everyone that knew about Counter-Strike and watched and played with him or played against him were like, this guy is like, this is ridiculous. This doesn't make any sense. But so from that, like from the professional hype, obviously Kyosuke now, it's crazy. It is crazy. It's maybe a bit too much.
Because of he's like the second coming of Donk, right? Like people are just constantly that's like who he's being compared to now. So that obviously helps him. Like zweih didn't really have that comparison.
Okay,
well, helps. I don't know if it helps him, to be honest. Like there's crazy about the pressure on the kid.
The sale price.
It helps the story, right? Like we go in very excited about it, right? But this was meant to be talking about NAVI. Like, when I look at these two groups, because guys, just in case you don't understand the format, so 8 teams are going to make it through from stage 1 into stage 2, where they'll be joining either one of Group A or Group B. Group A is Vitality, G2 Falcons, the Mongols. Group B is MOUZ, NAVI, Aurora, Spirit. So Aurora not having Xantares actually is a big hit to them. So for me, I think Group A is the harder group overall. I am more excited about G2 over Aurora, or even I could compare them to NAVI. I think the Mongols are better than Aurora. I think that Falcons and Vitality have more exciting stuff about them than MOUZ.
And Spirit,
then Spirit is the team that I'm like, I'm excited to see Spirit, right? But otherwise, I think it's Group A is definitely where you want to avoid if you're coming out of the stage 1 teams. Stage 1 is where we can quickly just turn. So we had a lot of the storylines from Fisher. We saw Big, we saw Pain, we saw 3D Max, we saw MIBR, we saw Heroic, we saw Gamer Legion, Complexity, TYLOO, VP, Astralis, and Furia. The teams we didn't see were Liquid. They played online in a Pro League qualifier. I'm going to say it with a grain of salt. Like, I think people really need to like read nothing into that result, to be completely honest with you. We haven't seen NIP play, right? And they also just made a change. They got Kaspersky for Aristos, so that's going to be interesting to see. A Kaspersky, nice, aggressive Polish rifler. We didn't see Bait play, obviously coming off of their performance at the major with MPL, Headtrick, Ascenthio, Kenzizor, and Alex. And finally, we didn't see FlyQuest play, and they have just added JKS, the newest addition to the roster.
There was a different flair to that name, I feel, coming from you.
He's biased on the podcast.
Yeah, all the time.
Your bias is coming through.
But I'm excited to see that. That's the most exciting team for me in the opening stage.
Makes sense. I mean, that's a huge signing there. That's a huge signing for sure.
Big pressure. They've been in Serbia for about a week now, I think. They keep using Russia's TeamSpeak, so I see them in there every day praking. They have to travel today, though, which I have to do I have to leave in 3 hours.
Okay.
So we have to wind this up shortly, gentlemen. Where do we want to go with the conversation before we close it down?
Well, we didn't do the fix our shit somehow. We
also didn't talk about some of the teams that are playing, that were in Fisher, that we're going to see again. I mean, I think for me, a big one would be Heroic. And I was curious about how they would fix things, because like Nylo was more of a replacement for Youngstar than anything else. And obviously they're now together. And so instead of putting Youngstar in some of the aggressive positions, it's actually Tanir, which is interesting. And it didn't suit him quite so well, you know, like instead of him being kind of like on the aggressive lurk side, now he's more of a space taker. And as much as you'd think maybe that would be okay for him, it seemed like he was just not putting up the same numbers as he was in the previous positions, where maybe he did things more according to how he, like the pacing that he would want and all these things, and it just wasn't working out quite well. So like Heroic have the second chance with this new lineup after bombing pretty badly, I would say, in Fisher.
Who else bombed pretty badly in Fisher?
I mean, Furia bombed and Pain, both of them completely shit the bed, went out super early. So two teams
Furia
that
double lost to Saw. That was a big one.
Yeah, it's not a good look, because it was like, oh, they're on the right path now. And then with Yakinda botting out hard in the decider match, it's like, well, when he wasn't fully signed, he was owning, and now that he is, I don't put it down to that. Right, like I think that's very reductive, but it could play a role, right? It is a player's mental.
Apparently, they played only a few days, like, you know, of practice after the break, so they were extremely rusty. It's one of those, like, it's always easy to look back and be like, well, they should have practiced more before the tournament, but also you don't want to. It's not that big of a tournament, so you're just hoping, okay, we get through the group stage, we get the rust off, and then by the time we get into playoffs, we're in a good spot for Cologne. We don't like burn out by the, you know, October or some stuff, you know. So it's a tricky balance to hit. It's always like, easy to criticize in hindsight, but not a good look. And as you said, you want to keep that momentum going, which is now completely gone. They need to start again. Who are they?
Furia play FlyQuest and Pain plays Liquid. So
FlyQuest and then Astralis Bait is there. So like these are all teams based on their major performance they should be beating, but let's see how that goes.
Yeah, I looked at Big's results from Fisher and it seemed more promising, but that's the thing with Big. Like I'm completely out on them. If they do something great, but otherwise there's nothing exciting to talk about with Big. And I think that, you know, we've spoken before. It's okay for teams just to be okay, right? Like not everybody can win. Not everyone can be the best team in the world. And if you want to keep it nationality based, then it's always going to be harder. And that's what Big have decided to do. So Big just falls into that category. It's not meant to be a slight on them or anything. It's just, I'm just treating it for what it is. I think Cole are one that I want to see some more from, to be honest. Like I want to see a little bit more from Complexity.
I want to see more from Kersey. I don't think he didn't look comfortable.
He didn't?
No, he didn't.
Okay.
And that's just beyond output, right? It just felt like he wasn't really creating space or like helping create space, you know. And when they were playing in, I saw one of their games, to be fair. I think it might have been the BetBoom one where he was, it was the BetBoom one, where he was having a really rough time. I didn't see him before that, so might have been just one series type of thing.
Maybe AWPers don't work in Gamer Legion and they just need to go 5 riflers. Maybe Ash just needs 5 riflers and a guy who occasionally hobby AWPs or something like that.
But Kersey is the kind of guy who's going to be more supportive, right? So like I saw some of his games from before and just he wasn't like a combat op or anything like that. He was always going to be setting up with flashes and all that, and it seems like that's kind of exactly what they would want from an opera in Gamer Legion, right? And it just, I don't know, for some reason it didn't work.
Yeah. Look, this is, again, I just want to continue to draw back to the context of first event. Like, I think that it's kind of just like a taste tester. You know, you're going to go back, you're going to have a second bite. You don't know what it's going to taste like the second time round, but the first time round, you've got your, you're able to have a bit of a judgment. So a lot of teams go from Fisher into Cologne with their stocks lower, but some teams are going to walk out with their heads held high. Like I think FaZe is going to have Brokey back. We didn't even talk about that. It's just picking up where they left off. So it doesn't fill people with too much excitement, really. Liquid need to start getting some wins. Like obviously they're sticking with the same roster too. So for them, they need to start pulling their socks up. It just feels like a completely open field outside of the upper echelon, like outside of the top 5, which is almost the same conversation we were having last season. So we need that to change. We need other teams to be able to make good on their potential. Like right now, I would love to see TYLOO back up another opening series against VP and just get the job done, go 2-0. And then I would have them, as favorites, but just favorites against a Game of Legion or a Complexity. It'd be great. Okay, now they're in the mix. They've showed promising counter-strike. Now do it against some of the bigger orgs. I'm excited to see NIP. This opportunity means an awful lot to NIP, right? So for them, like, this is their Super Bowl. There's huge context for them in this. I think 3D Max just continue to be on a bit of a downward slide, right? They're unfortunately just continuing to wallow in their unfortunate existence. I would love to see Promise out of FlyQuest, right? That's who I'm looking for. I want to see them make it to the next stage of play. That's my expectation. Yeah, it's a bad expectation to have because they probably won't. They'll probably get grouped like they always do. But I would love to see them make it through to the next stage of play. So
they've gotten a kind of a tough first matchup. I guess. I mean, they deserve it for where they are. They're actually the lowest ranked team in the competition. So it's always going to be tough with the first thorough matchup.
Okay, boys. Should we talk about this tweet you just linked? Prof, should this be our fix your sit?
I don't know. I just saw it. You guys said you had something.
Striker said he had something, but
yeah, I have something kind of important, but we can also look at this.
This is just stupid stuff. Overdrive mentioned it in the chat. Overdrive mentioned in the chat. I'm like, I don't know even what this is about, and I opened Twitter and I found this situation, the cap situation, the cap drama is back.
Drama.
The hats are back. I hope Taco can join into this conversation, put his opinions. I know he's very opinionated about hats. But anyway, there's drama that Astralis wanted Anthros to take off his hat out of, not respect, but essentially because usually at events it's banned to have a hat because of the headphones, and then the headphones maybe don't sit because the hat allows whatever.
Creates an air gap.
It was a 2016 drama with fucking Brazilians in Canada and a Canadian in the event, and after that there's banned on all events. So Astralis wanted to agree to not have that, and apparently BetBoom said no. Then BetBoom came out and said, hey, the guys were mocking Artem playing with a cap, brackets funny. I love that. We bought a new cap. The admin checked everything and allowed him to play like that. As far as I know, it's not prohibited by the rules. Okay, interesting. HooXi also said it's not in the rules at this event, so that's why they wanted to make a gentleman's agreement about
Understandable.
it.
Okay.
So essentially, and then he explains, why didn't shake Stone's hand? When we played the online championship with Vlad and Sanechka, Zorti God, I love this, was left 1v3 in an apostle situation, almost carried the game, and Stone wrote NT while losing 9-3. Same situation happened on Yala in Abu Dhabi. The guy kept spamming nonsense in the chat, shooting at corpses, etc. Brackets. I have no problem with this. It's competitive anger, but overall it looks a bit off. No questions about other players. That's about it. That's like
the third situation that was against Stout typing shit in the chat all the time. He's he has quite a how would I say? He's notorious for this at this point. Yeah. He's beginning to be.
It is weird though, that people get at the top level rattled by that stuff. Just mute the opposing team. Do you need to see what they're saying?
Well, sometimes with the tech or whatever,
no.
if you're typing.
If you mute the enemy team and just play all of the rounds like they're live, you can never go wrong.
No,
you can just say
use the
they're all muted, and the admin should be the one pausing anyway.
Sure. Exactly. Fair enough.
Look, that's what I think. Just fucking mute everybody, mate.
Fair enough.
And then you know what the better thing is? You mute the opponent, but you still talk shit. You still talk shit, because if they type back, you can't read it. It's God tier, right?
Yeah.
You fucking get in their head.
This is how I play Counter-Strike.
This is what I do.
Yeah,
I got everybody muted. Sometimes people are chatting to me in FACEIT games, and a teammate will be like, "Oh, you're not going to reply to that guy?" I'm like, "Mate, I don't even know that that's a guy on the other side. That could be anybody. That could be a fucking alien. That could be an AI. I'm just here to shoot whatever is happening. I'd have no idea. It doesn't matter. They're just 5 things on the other side that I got to kill. They're not a person. They're just a thing." So that's the way they should keep it, man. Just fucking mute everybody and talk shit. That should have been the fix your sit. That should have been it right there.
There you go. But Striker has something very important to share.
I really have to run to the bathroom. So Striker, how quick can you make this? Because
it's going to be quick.
I haven't shot myself in 36 years, so I would like to keep it that way.
Okay. So my fixture set for today has to do with the overpass change and kind of with.
Hold on, let me change the thing.
Talks that Valve had while at the major, and as I can understand it, they definitely let it slip to at least a few people that overpass was coming in, even though they didn't say for what in that moment. And I'm a bit worried that this could spill into teams, and obviously, if a team gets wind of a map change ahead of the others, then that makes it a problem in terms of competitive integrity, right? If a team gets to practice it a week ahead of time, and then be ready for it when everybody else gets the news with 5 days lead up or whatever it is, that's a problem. So I'm just making
it's a cautionary tale.
And I'm also making a plea to Valve to be more careful with what sort of information they put out there that has to do with important changes that are coming up that not everybody will have the access to in terms of information, so they should be more careful with that.
Tell us more, Striker. Who was it?
I heard a name. I heard that there was who got told.
Yes, yeah, which team?
Can't say that.
Dun dun dun.
I don't know that this is true, so I wouldn't want to put them. I've heard that it got through a team, but I'm not sure that that's true. So I don't want to. If I said it, they would get shit for it when I'm not 100% sure that they'd have definitely got. I know other people got wind of the change, and I know they were told directly from Valve, but I didn't. We didn't. We actually, that's the one thing that we didn't talk to them about.
No.
I feels like we talked to them about everything. But yeah, other people have told me that they were told about this was coming in, and that's not great. I think that's not good, regardless of who it is. There's always going to be potential for it to leak to a team. And that's never a good. That's never a good thing. As much as maybe we could foresee that this could happen, or at least foresee that there was going to be a map change. As far as we know, it could have been Cobble or Cash, so it wasn't necessarily obvious that it was going to be Overpass coming back in. So it's just important to keep these things under wraps until everybody can know it.
But there are some clues that I think that people should keep in mind, right? Because in the past, if you look at maps, Train just came from nowhere, right? Like Train, we didn't have any idea about, right? No one knew anything about Train.
Not that I know.
So some of the maps, right, have ended up previously in the map pool, right? Like Ancient, for example, was added, and you could play that in competitive, but you couldn't play it in, well, I guess it was different matchmaking thing in the past, and then it ended up going into the game, right? So there's, if people, like this is the problem is, the pros are only going to play the 7 maps that are in the pool, and they're not really going to open up the blinkers to anything else, right? But what IP Valve has, right? They bought Tuscan, they have Cash, they have, obviously they've just removed a map, right, of Anubis that they can change. If maps come in and they're played not in the Premier, but you can pick them in competitive, right? You have to keep in mind that these are probably maps that Valve are testing and that they could bring in the future. So there are some clues that you can look to if you want to make some educated guesses on what could be coming up next. And what Striker discussed earlier, which we brought up, was that it feels like now, this is the 3rd time, going into the next major, it's likely we see a map change going into next year, right? So you can keep your eyes open, and you can make some stabs in the dark, and you can see where you end up, because there's definitely some clues out there that people can look towards. You can never assume or know anything with Valve, but you can definitely look at how they operate and try to function that into some of your decision making. So there you go. There's Strikers TBD. Fix your shit. As I think I need to go right now. All right. Look. We're going to try and do some episodes during Cologne. We also have a live show. I don't know what my schedule... I say I don't know. I probably have an email that has my schedule in it. Today's my first day starting to look at that stuff again. Got to go pack my bag. And then Cologne is going to get underway. So this will conclude today's episode. We're back in full swing of things. The tickets are sold out for the Cologne live show, so sorry if you didn't get them. I saw some people in chat mentioning that they missed out. But we'll see everybody there. And we'll be doing the live show, and that'll be all good in the hood. Anything anybody wants to say before I depart?
No, we're all good.
We're all good. Okay. All right. Shout out to Anthros and Skinplay, sponsors of the show. Thank you for tuning into another episode of HLTV Confirmed, and we will see you later down the line, if not sooner than the live show from Cologne next week. See you there. Goodbye.
Sell in-game items at the best prices in just a couple of clicks. We are the biggest instant sell service for in-game items like Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, and Rust. Easy selling process and instant withdrawal of funds to the most popular payment methods. More than 140,000 deals and 50,000 active sellers every month. Use promo code HLTV5 and get a 5% bonus on the sale of your skins. Skin Place. Sell items now.
When every move counts, your chair shouldn't hold you back. Top esports players are switching to Anthros for unbeatable support and performance that keeps them in the game longer. Designed to support your unique shape and built with medical-grade components, Anthros is setting a new standard for comfort. Check out the Anthros difference today and get ready to fix your sit, because gaming deserves more than just a chair.